It is day 2 of the 2019 Rogue Invitational here in Columbus, Ohio, and 4 events will decide which man, woman, and team earn the coveted invites to the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. Thanks for being with us here today, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Bill Grundler. Rory McKernan is down on the field. We'll hear from him in a second. But Bill, day 1, there were a lot of memorable moments, a lot of stuff to take in, but what stood out to you the most?
There were 3 big things. That Legends event with the Amanda was gigantic. That was a CrossFit history lesson in the making. But then on the men and women's side, Chandler Smith hasn't made it into the games yet, and he's sitting in 4th place, an amazing race there. And then the women's battle to make it to the games. 2 points separates Garibay and Schrum. It's a battle. It's amazing.
It is a busy Sunday here at Rogue Fitness headquarters. 4 events for the individuals, 4 events for the teams, and we have 2 events for the legends. And the teams will be kicking off action. They will take on the C2 Medley and the Max Front Squat, back-to-back events getting started here in just a second. And on the team side of things, it is CrossFit OC3. Not only are they the overall leaders, but they are the team that right now would get that invite to the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. This is a very experienced group, and that should serve them well today.
Well, experience coming into this, which is amazing, but now experience and momentum. They had those 2 wins yesterday, looked very powerful, and the fact that they're beating Mayhem in events and coming into the second day, that's a lot of confidence. It's great for them.
Here are the standings after 3 events. Across at OC3 with 280 out of a possible 300 points from yesterday. They have a 28-point lead on CrossFit Mayhem Freedom for the event win, but most importantly, they have a 52-point lead over CrossFit Invictus Back Bay, one of the other teams that is trying to earn an invite here from the Rogue Invitational to the CrossFit Games. The C2 Medley is up first for the teams. A whole lot of work on 3 implements, the Bike Erg, the rower, and the Ski Erg.
And they call it the C2 Medley. Couple reasons. 1, it's all C2 equipment, but 2, we have 200 calories that have to be done in each one of those pieces of equipment. This is going to be a painful but very strategic event for these teams.
And you mentioned it, strategy will come into play here, and for more on that, let's send it down to the field and Rory McKernan.
Bill, Sean, I had an opportunity to speak to our top 3 teams. 200 calories on each of these 3 implements, but you have 4 team members, and all 3 of those teams taking fairly different approaches. Now, you've got your top team in the field overall, OC3. They're choosing to do short sprints with lots of changeover. Now, as you know, in team competition, changeover is where you can lose a lot of time. On the other hand, Mayhem Freedom and CrossFit Invictus Back Bay have selected specific members to work together who will then go and tap out the other members on the implements that they know take the longest. So, more than ever, we get to see how that strategy will play out in this event.
Thank you, Ro. Here are your lane assignments for this opening event of the second day of competition at the 2019 Rogue Invitational OC3. They are your overall leaders coming into this event. They will be right in the middle of the field in lane 5, and they will be right next to the team that is trying to chase them down as far as that invite is concerned. That's Invictus Back Bay.
In OC3, these guys, like we said, have a lot of experience, and I like the fact that they're going to go aggressive at this particular event. I want to see, and I think that it will be a good comment or a good play for them. We'll see how it plays.
Event 4 of 7, the C2 Medley, is underway. 600 total calories on 3 implements. 3 athletes work at a time, and 1 is resting.
So you know you have 1 person resting, and I think of the 3, the one that they really need to be paying attention to is the bike. Now, all 3 of these implements have a rest phase. On the Ski Erg, you can rest when you're coming up. On the row, you can rest when you're coming back in. On the bike, you can never rest. So that the bike is going to be the burner. I think they really need to understand that piece. Also, drop and move. All of these teams have decided that they want to work to a certain amount of work. If that athlete starts to drop down, they need to announce that and make that switch as fast as they can.
Taylor Williamson is starting off on the Bike Erg for OC3, and it is Don't Stop, as you can see in the bottom right of your screen. Leading the race right now, followed by Invictus Back Bay. Team Ron Watt sits in 3rd. Mayhem Independence is 4th. OC3 is back in 5th. So Invictus Back Bay, the key for them today is they have to start beating OC3 in some events if they want to make up that 52-point deficit. Tyler Christoffel, bottom of your screen, on the Ski Erg for CrossFit 417. They are currently in 6th place overall, 96 points back.
Sean, when I'm looking across the field on that wide shot, I mean, we see a lot of these athletes, they're very comfortable in the rower. They know exactly how hard to push. They know what it does to their body. Same thing with the Ski Erg, but I'm going to say that I don't think as many of these athletes spend time or have had time on the concept to bike. With that bike, we talked about not having a lot of rest, but if I'm watching these athletes on the bike, I don't see them pushing the bike very hard. You can see Taylor Williamson there pushing very hard on the Ski Erg, but you look at the athletes in the back, they're relaxing a little bit more on that bike. I think that that's going to be the part that separates the team, and they really need to push that bike a little bit more.
It's Tasia Persevich. She's down on the bike for CrossFit Mayhem Freedom as China Cho looks on. Send it back down to Rory McKernan.
Sean and Bill, and to Bill's point about the speed on these machines, these athletes, especially CrossFit Invictus Back Bay and Mayhem Freedom in particular, had opportunities to practice this. They know the exact average wattage that they want to hold on every single machine in order to finish. So CrossFit Invictus Back Bay in particular, they said they wanted to hold about 1,900 on that bike, and that means that they reckon they'll be done with this portion of the event in about 6 minutes.
Thank you, Ro. That's a look at Don't Stop. Jen Smith on the Ski Erg. Tola Moraquino right now on the rower for Invictus Back Bay. And right now they are in the lead ahead of Don't Stop. CrossFit Mayhem Independence is now in third as Invictus Back Bay and Don't Stop are trading the lead basically on the same pace. Invictus Back Bay, Don't Stop, CrossFit Mayhem Independence. That's big for them as well if they can stay towards the top, because Mayhem Independence 94 points back. Kelsey Keel from CrossFit Invictus Back Bay.
So we talked about communication, and I think that third person, that resting person, has to know either one, where they're going to slot in if they're going to do kind of a Congo line, movement from one implement to the next implement. But they have to have a lot of communication. Now, I did see Don't Stop was looking around. I see some of the other teams were looking around. But they want to keep that wattage on whichever implement we're talking about, whether it's a ski, whether it's a bike, whether it's a row. Keep that fan moving so you don't have to do a whole lot of work to get it moving, and then you can just keep on jumping and just keep that wheel spinning.
And Invictus Back Bay has gotten better as the competition has gone on. They're coming off that big win in Event 3 last night as Meg Reardon hands off to Craig Kenny on the Ski Erg, and it's Kelsey Keel who is on the Bike Erg, and Moraquino in the back staying on the rower. Don't Stop and Invictus Back Bay fighting for the lead. It's Mayhem Independence in third, and OC3. They're locked in a battle with CrossFit Mayhem Freedom for fourth right now. Rich Froning on the Ski Erg. 2 straight second place finishes to start the day yesterday. Then they dropped the fourth in event number 3, and that put them in second place overall coming into the day.
Rich looks very relaxed. We talked about the recovery portion on 2 of the 3 implements here, and you can see as he stands up, that's where he takes his nice big breath, trying to get that recovery into a nice big pull on those handles.
So far, the majority of the switching has taken place on the Bike Erg and on the Ski Erg.
I'm going to say that those are the most painful, most painful of the 3, but then the most used of the 3. There's a rower in every single CrossFit gym, but not every athlete has had as much time on the Ski Erg or the bike.
Let's go back down to Rory McKernan.
Yeah, a great look, guys, if you check out what we've got with our top 3 in the overall standings, especially Mayhem Freedom. Dre Strom and Rich Froning Jr. have not moved. The women are the only 2 who are transitioning back and forth there on the bike, versus OC3 the next lane over, where you have all 3 members working almost conga line style and switching each other out. Invictus Back Bay does have 2 members on one machine, that's the Ski Erg, but as opposed to their 2 female athletes, they've chosen 2 of their strongest athletes, that's Craig Kinney and Meg Reardon. They're trying to tick away at that before they go and tap out Tola Moraquino and Kelsey Keel.
Thank you, Ro. Meanwhile, Don't Stop is starting to put some distance between themselves and CrossFit Mayhem Independence, but still, this would be a great result for CrossFit Mayhem Independence if they can finish inside the top 3. Invictus Back Bay is also up there, and the 2 of them are ahead right now of OC3. If this holds, they will chew into that lead that OC3 came in with to the day. OC3 with 280 points to put them atop the overall leaderboard. CrossFit Invictus Back Bay started 52 points back. Mayhem Independence 94 points back. Mayhem Freedom has now moved into third place ahead of CrossFit Invictus Back Bay. OC3 sitting solidly in fifth. Travis Williams on the Bike Erg. The Don't Stop team. They are your leaders. Alexis Johnson coming over to see how he's doing, and it's Jen Smith who is on the rower. Tullamore Aquino, pardon me.
And all three of these guys have been on their implement a long time. Travis has been on that bike a while. So I think what they're doing here is they're just trying to see, hey, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Wow, and that was a swap right from the bike down to the row. You saw it back there with Jen Smith and Travis.
The Don't Stop still in the lead, but CrossFit Mayhem Freedom is chewing into that. Mayhem Independence is in third, and Craig Kenny on the Bike Erg for CrossFit Invictus Back Bay. They are in fourth place. Now OC3 has just jumped ahead of Invictus Back Bay. Kenny's off the bike, Meg Reardon hops on, and Tullamore Aquino in the back is still on the rower. And remember, after this, we have a very quick reset, and then we go right into the next event, which is the 1 rep max front squat. Don't Stop. Jen Smith is off the bike as they are done. Travis Williams done on the rower. And it looks like Don't Stop might be completely finished, and they are. CrossFit OC3, meanwhile,
wow,
putting on a charge. So OC3 across the finish line, and they are going to take the event with a late charge. Don't Stop is going to finish in second, and here comes Invictus Back Bay. So that is huge for OC3. Mayhem Independence and Mayhem Freedom both coming across the finish line. OC3 hanging in fifth place until the very end. They make a late charge and win the sprint to the finish. And they will increase their overall lead as they have now won 3 of the 4 events we have contested this weekend.
So we talk about the strategy and which one is going to work. We do know that if you can keep the calorie and the wattage up high, that's always going to be something positive, which it looked like it worked there, but we were watching on that little diagram where everyone was moving. I didn't even see them in the play. So the fact that they were able to jump up that fast, that kind of blows my mind. But it does pay to the right strategy of keep the fan wheel moving, keep that wattage up high, push it hard, take your short break, push it hard, take your short break.
Still have some teams left on the floor. CrossFit 417 is still out there, but that's CrossFit OC3. We mentioned when we came on air, look, this is a very experienced team. They have all been to the games. They were on the podium last year. Colin Cartier is their coach. He knows what he's doing. They had a plan going in. They executed it, and it paid off.
Paid off.
We have about a minute until the time cap, and then it's a 5-minute reset, and then the combined 1 rep max front squat event. So every team will have 2 platforms, one for the men and one for the women. You're seeing those come into your view on the left side. And they will do their 1 rep, try to find their 1 rep max front squat, and then we will add up the top lift for each athlete, and that will be the team score.
Lots of plates down there. So we have an 8-minute time cap when we're in that particular segment. There'll be a 5-minute break in between. So if you did, so for OC3, they finished first. They're going to actually get a little bit more rest time.
Pays to be a winner.
Yeah, it does pay to be a winner, unless you push too hard and you blow your legs out. But I think these guys are good enough athletes that they're going to be able to recover enough to lift some big weights. But you have to figure you want to lift as much as you can. Couple rules to that, though. Can't drop the weight, or if you do drop the weight, you have to strip everything off, and you can't go down. So you have to build yourself up as you're moving once you're on that platform.
That is the time cap. And now CrossFit OC3 and the rest of the teams here at the Rogue Invitational will rest up and get set for the next event, the 1 rep max front squat.
So it was hard to find out or figure out what was going to be the best strategy. The fact that there were 3 different strategies on the floor was pretty impressive. We saw what Don't Stop was doing. We saw what Back Bay was doing. Some really fast switches. We even saw when Mayhem Freedom decided to keep everyone on one implement and just kind of cycle the women back and forth. Looked like it was going to pay off. They were really starting to lead or move their way up to the front, but Don't Stop making their switch, keeping that communication high. But again, when you go back to OC3, using the strategy of we're going to go short burst or big burst, short rest, big burst, short rest. That allowed them, especially at the end part, once they had those last calories done, to make to the finish. But wow, what a good, strong charge into day 2.
The late push pays off for OC3, and here are your final results. They beat Don't Stop by 3 seconds, rack up their 3rd win of the weekend. Send it back down to Rory McCurden, who's with your event winners.
All right, here we are again, Team OC3, a 3rd event win. Now, we talked before the event, and you told me you're going to do lots of transitions. That was the strategy, but give me the overall view of the strategy coming into the event.
Well, Taylor and I do well on machines overall, so we thought it would be best if we could all switch a lot and we could put a lot of power output into the short duration.
Anything that you guys would change going back?
Probably not.
Or what changed on the fly in terms of strategy?
Just communicating about which machine was behind or if we were going to finish something first and kind of changing the order a little bit.
Great. We got the front squats next. What are we expecting to hit?
Some big lifts, all of us.
Don't give it away.
Keep it general. I like it. Okay, good luck, OC3.
CrossFit OC3 with their 3rd event win of the weekend, and they are solidly in the driver's seat as they look to make a return trip yet again to the CrossFit Games. The next event, the max front squat, 8 minutes. Only one athlete can work at a time. And strategy comes into play here because you don't want to spend a lot of time switching weights on and off.
Now, these guys, they're going to know about what numbers they want to hit, and I think that's important because they want to make sure that they do hit it. You don't want to go rep for rep for rep for rep. I think we're probably going to see a max of about 3 lifts or so per person, and it's going to be what can they hit in those 3 lifts.
Here's where teams will line up on their platforms. Once again, OC3 will be right in the middle in number 5 on those number 5 platforms, as we will have 2 for each team. And they will be keeping an eye on Invictus Back Bay and CrossFit Mayhem Independence, the 2 teams behind them in the standings coming into the day, as OC3 is really putting that invite to the CrossFit Games on lock. And Invictus Back Bay, though, they have some athletes who can really put up some big weight.
You know, they have a lot of power. I mean, Kelsey's very strong. We already know what Meg Reardon can do. The Craig Kinney and that powerful mustache, you know he's going to be putting up some big weights with that. But they need to do this. They need to get themselves a good score so they can start moving themselves up closer to OC3 to get that shot in there. Again, I don't know if it's going to be enough, but it's something that they have to do. They have to be successful.
One of the best moments came yesterday courtesy of CrossFit Balance. They've had to basically withdraw from the competition because one of their athletes got injured, but they are still competing. And for more on that, let's go back down to Rory McCurden.
That's right, Sean. Caitlin Mead is the new hero of the CrossFit community. Last night, she was surprised when her husband drove all the way from Washington, D.C., and she told me about this warming up for the event. She had a huge smile on her face, and she said she was really happy to see him, but she sure wishes that he would have brought her lifting shoes.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully she can power through as OC3 talks through their strategy. Overall leaders now after 4 events.
You know, and the confidence it builds when not only that you're beating someone like, you know, Rich Roney Jr. in the Mayhem Freedom group, but you've had 3 wins now. You're in a very successful position. That's when really big numbers start to go up. That's when to lift big weights, you have to be very confident, and they have a lot of confidence right now. So I think they are in a great position to do just some more damage on the rest of the field.
CrossFit Mayhem cheering section is here in full force.
Stand by.
We are underway. Tasia Persevich and China Cho loading their bar. Dre Strom and Rich Froning pairing up on their platform for CrossFit Mayhem Freedom.
So these athletes, they know they have a short amount of time. So they need to make their reps or their attempts count. The way they'll do that is they're going to look at probably about an 80, something that they're going to hit about 80% of the time, about 95% of their 1 rep max, and then go for something big. After that, before they even get on the platform, though, they should know pre-plan what they needed. So that's what it's going to be. Make it count, know their pre-plan, and then execute once they get out on the floor.
Gotta get them legs warmed up, Josh. Yeah. Out to 200 calories.
That's Caitlin Mead. She hits her lift.
First rep out of the 8th game goes for Rich.
Let's go over to CrossFit OC3 and Luke Schaefer with 225 pounds on the bar. No problem. Again, it is the total of your 4 heaviest lifts. Meg Reardon and Kelsey Keel for Back Bay, and Jared Stevens racking his weight as Tyler Christoffel will take over. CrossFit 417.
So we're talking about what Back Bay needs to do, and you need to have your big heavy hitters out there. Get someone like Craig Kinney, 275, makes it look like it's 75. But again, that's the first lift. Get that first one under the belt. Then you get up close to about 95, 100% of your 1 rep max, and then you go for something, you kind of swing for the fence.
Tola Morikino will be up next, and he will hit that easily.
Both those guys could have gone way heavier. Whew. I mean, take a safe one, but my goodness, they made it look so easy.
Rich Froning has loaded 315 pounds on the bar.
Slipping away, a fast 5 minutes, 2 minutes in, 3 minutes remaining. 417 with over 315 pounds.
And Rich hits that with little trouble.
315 for Mayhem Independence.
Now 315 for the pair of Tola Morikino and Craig Kenny for Invictus Back Bay.
245 now for Ramwa.
Craig Kenny, when he was in high school, he was quite an accomplished football player, and to train, he used to push a car up a hill. That was his training, just old school brute strength stuff.
I think I saw that on the Incredibles cartoon somewhere.
Kenny hits that no problem. That's the neighbors used to say to his parents, hey, you know your kid's out there pushing your car up the hill. But he was quite an athlete playing high school football. Jared Stevens for 417 left side hits his lift.
And that was a 355 pound. That's the biggest lift I've seen out there on the floor yet.
Throw that weight around.
Tyler Christoffel.
Oh, how easy that was.
Right now, the fellas to beat are 417. 625 for the ladies, Josh, for Mayhem Freedom. 2 minutes remaining.
345 pounds on the bar for Dre Strom.
345 for Mayhem Independence.
Now 335 for Craig Kenny and Invictus Back Bay.
Not too shabby.
Tola Morikino will now step up to that. Meg Reardon and Kelsey Keel for Invictus Back Bay, loading their barbell.
Guys are freaking out. They got all the time, or at least they got about 4 minutes. That's Rich getting down and getting up. 365 with ease.
Meg Reardon will hit that. We're halfway through the 8-minute window here.
417, an easy 215 or 225. 215, my bad, 215.
415 on the bar now for Jared Stevens and Tyler Christoffel of CrossFit 417. 365 meanwhile for Dre Strom and CrossFit Mayhem Freedom.
Now with 365. It'll be a 325 on the bar. Outside.
415 for Jared Stevens and CrossFit 417. And that goes up easily.
Nice lift.
Still looking for him. Got more than.
And now Tyler Christoffel will make a run at this.
Next up, Nakme adding some weight.
That's 355 for Joe Persanti for CrossFit OC3. And weight can only be added to the bar. 390 is good for Rich Froning. They cannot strip weight off. if they miss a heavy lift. Once you get to a point, you can't go back. Nickimja just hit 355, and now it's Andrea Nisler. 275 pounds for CrossFit OC3. Wow. OC3, Andrea Nisler hits that easily. And now Taylor Williamson will step up.
Here comes Greg Gaines setting up for 370.
Williamson will hit that. Now Dre Strom to 390 pounds for CrossFit Mayhem Freedom.
395.
The big numbers starting to roll in as we are inside 2 minutes to go here in this 8-minute window in the 5th event of the team competition. Just 2 more remain after this, and right now it's OC3, who are your overall leaders, is now the 400s are starting to roll in. Rich Froning and Dre Strom putting 405 on the bar.
405 on the bar for Mayhem Freedom, a.k.a. here comes Rich Froning.
Nickimja hit 385 right behind Rich. And Froning cannot get, now they got to unload the bar and get it back up there. So 405 no good, so this is going to take a lot of time.
About a minute and 20, minute and 10 seconds.
They're very efficient in stripping that
That's
bar.
what happens when you're strong.
Andrea Nisler at 280 pounds.
385
Just can't get that. But both the OC3 women did successfully lift 275 pounds. Taza Persevich with 265.
CrossFit 417. 45 seconds.
435 pounds now for Jared Stevens at CrossFit 417.
Platform number 8, 435 on the bar.
$30 seconds to go.
All the way down,
Oh,
And
my
that is about
goodness.
as perfect as you can get.
20 seconds. And the second
Now Tyler Christoffel will make a run at it. 435. If he hits this, this would be huge for 417. He will get it.
Gosh. Wow.
435 for both Stevens and Christoffel. Meanwhile, Kelsey Keel for Back Bay at 285.
Wow.
So 417 with a late charge. We'll have to see where this all plays out, but it looks like they're going to have a really good chance to win this event.
The ladies 290, I believe, and the fellas 435. 417 with a fantastic showing. A great job.
That was
Big round of
Kelsey Keel and
applause.
Victus Back Bay who made that lift, but 417 courtesy of Jared Stevens and Tyler Christoffel. They're going to be right there in the mix once we start totaling all this stuff up, as will Invictus Back Bay. And we saw some impressive lifts from OC3 during their time on the platform. And we'll wait for the totals to find out who actually wins this event. But coming into this event, across at OC3, they were your overall leaders.
Sean, I think initially what you tend to look at are what the guys are lifting. But this wasn't all about the guys. It's a total, it's the women. What are they putting up, and what are the men putting up? OC3 women, big numbers on that floor. Look at that, 275 pounds, confident, very smooth. Back Bay, same thing, 285. This was the biggest lift that I saw with the ladies. Kelsey Keel made that look so easy. Now on the guys' side, I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll get up in the upper 300s. Jared Stevens put on 435 pounds, and it isn't just the fact of him doing it, but they both did it.
That
both
was the thing.
members of the team.
Christoffel walked up to that like, well, all right, I'll give it a try. But then he made it almost look as easy as Jared Stevens did.
Let me just try that too, Jared. Come on.
The 2 big lifts from Jared Stevens and then Tyler Christoffel for CrossFit 417.
And look at this. Wow.
Let's send it down to Roy McKernan with CrossFit 417.
All right, I got Team 417 here. We're talking about PRs. Where does this sit in the grand scheme of your lifting career?
Actually, it is a PR. I don't think I usually max, but usually I just hit a number and then kind of let them play.
All right, perfect scenario for it, but I hear there's probably way more in the tank, even though that weight would take most of us through the floor.
I've hit 440 in training before, so we just came out at numbers we both could hit, and we can move through, so our girls can move through some numbers.
Great, so a fantastic event for you. How are you guys feeling about the weekend overall so far?
It's been awesome. The Rogue Invitational has been, I don't know, just an awesome event, and I feel like it's run really well. It's super fun, lots of great athletes here. It's good.
Great. Team 417, congratulations.
Team 417 with a really good shot of winning that event, but we have to total up all the weights to find out what the final scores are. But a good start for the day as the teams get after back-to-back events. OC3 a late charge and 417 impressive in their lifting. We will have the individual biathlon coming up next.
My name is Rich Froning, 4-time CrossFit Games individual champion, 2-time Affiliate Cup champion. RP has helped a ton with what time to eat, how much to eat, the quality of food I need to get in. I wasn't eating enough, wasn't getting in enough calories. RP has helped to actually show me that I need more food, I need more carbohydrates. I feel a lot better, I feel stronger.
My goal is to be the best version of myself, whether that's with my workout, my friendships, my mind, or my nutrition. I try to give my best to every area of my life, every single day. We all have something that we strive to be, and I feel like it's not about where you are, it's about how you get there. Zevia, live your best.
The 2019 Rogue Invitational is presented by Reebok. Reebok's newest Sport the Unexpected campaign celebrates those who defy convention and challenge the status quo. Visit Reebok.com to shop the latest collection. And by Rogue, strength and conditioning equipment that's built to last. The individual competition getting set to kick off here on day 2 of the 2019 Rogue Invitational in Columbus, Ohio. The women will be up first in the biathlon, and here is where we stand at the halfway point. It is Tia Toomey who has the overall lead. She has a 22-point cushion over Sara Sigmundsdottir, who was impressive yesterday. Annie Thorisdottir sits in third, and then Kristen Holta and Brooke Wells rounding out the top 5. Well, accuracy is one of the 10 general skills, and we are certainly going to test that in this event. And in order to help us determine how that is best going to be done, we have brought in an expert of our own. This is Chad Salmela, a former U.S. Biathlon national team member, and many of you may remember him as the guy who got you fired up when you were watching biathlon as part of the Winter Olympics last year. Chad, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
the athletes doing this event and people at home watching this may not know a whole lot about biathlon. What are some of the things that they just need to keep in mind as far as the basics are concerned to be successful in this event?
Well, I think the athletes here are very different. They're much more power-driven athletes, so the power ratio as opposed to the, trying to stay composed on the shooting range is the real key for these guys. It's a new event for them. So what they have to do is try to, when they're on the shooting range, they have to remember what they did when they hit those shots and be consistent every time they take the shot. Do the same breathing pattern. Do the same focus. The other thing is to stay in your own lane. They've been practicing. Some of them have had success in the practice range, but when they get together and they're shooting head-to-head for prizes and cash, it's a big different thing. It's a much different thing, so they're going to have to stay in their own lane mentally to be successful.
And Bill, you got to see some of these athletes get coached by some biathletes. That was a couple days ago. What did you take from that?
The main thing was that there was a technique to shooting this type of rifle under this sort of circumstance. If you did that, and you feel funny doing it, because I got to play with it too. If you do it right, you'll make the target. If you don't, it's all over the place. So you got to stay to that technique.
Let's send it down to Rory McKernan, who is on the field with more on this event.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. You've got Chad up there, so I'm going to put it into novice terms. I got my hands on one of these rifles. Now, in the Olympics, they use a real .22 rifle. They're actually at 50 meters. We're now at 10 meters with this air gun. But despite the fact that it's an air gun, it actually has a lot of weight to it. I got the chance with Bill to take a couple shots myself in the practice range, and the difficulty is not going to come in the prone, in my opinion. In the standing portion, it's going to be very difficult for these athletes. When you get it away from your body, it feels like you're on a boat, the tip of this thing, as you're trying to look down these old iron peep sights. So the challenge, I think, for some of these athletes with no experience with any kind of shooting are going to be pretty difficult.
Thank you, Ro. And here is the test at hand. It is the 5th of 8 scored events, 15-minute time cap. Ski Erg, and then 3 different shooting rounds, 2 standing, 1 prone.
And I think that's going to be the key. The standing, or the prone, the laying down is not a problem. The standing will be a problem.
Right.
And I mean, we played with it. It's not even comparable. It's totally different.
Right. I think from a skill set level, the difficulty for these athletes new to the sport, the actual target and the rifle combination for these athletes, it's relatively fair from the prone position. But I think if you can hit 12 or 13 of the 15 targets, you can win this competition. But most importantly, I think the X factor is how many shots, who hits the most standing.
And remember, there is a penalty for missing as we take a look at the lane assignments. And keep an eye on lane number 7. That's Rachel Garibay. Right now, she is the athlete who would receive the invite from the sanctioned event to get to the CrossFit Games. The first of 2 heats is underway. We will have 4 rounds of skiing and 3 rounds of shooting, and then they will run back across the finish line.
It's crazy. These guys have all played with this Ski Erg. They understand that. Now, granted, it's not skiing, and that's a plus.
Right.
We don't have the ups and downs that you guys would have in a race, so we're just going to be kind of grabbing the handles and going for it. But the question I would have is, how hard do I push? Because I know that the second I grab that gun, my heart's going to be racing, I'm going to be breathing hard. How are they supposed to compose themselves on that ski?
Well, I think that's the whole question mark right now is like, what does this event actually entail? It's never been done. So I think it's really important that you don't spike your effort too early. Get into the competition, pace yourself for this first ski erg, maybe not even be the first one off. Go in there, hit 5, and then go back right to the ski erg and try to get the lead so you don't have to go to the penalty. I think if you can avoid penalties in the first shooting stage, then you can start picking up your effort. Sort of a negative split concept that is very common in endurance sports. You don't want to go out and gas it and really and have a lot of lactic acid, have your heart respond in a very negative way. So you want to just kind of keep it under control, make sure that you're composed when you come to the shooting range, and don't think about anything else. Don't think about anybody else. Stay in your lane.
I think that's the hardest part.
It is.
They're going to hear pinging all over the place, and why am I not getting a ping?
We mentioned the penalty. Those kettlebells, that's part of the penalty. For every shot you miss, you have to run from your ski erg to the pylon. You have to do 3 kettlebell thrusters. Then, if you miss another shot, you have to run back, tag your erg, come back again, and do 3 more thrusters. So it's 1 sprint and 3 thrusters for every shot you miss.
That's really hard for me to conceptualize because I'm an endurance guy. I've never done a thruster and then tried to shoot. And I think,
you don't want to.
No, and that's what I think is the other X factor. I don't think any of these athletes have done thrusters and then tried to shoot. So, if you can avoid the penalty loop, obviously you don't have to do a thruster, but I think we'll see some penalties. And then the question is, how wobbly are they going to be and how shaky will they be from those thrusters?
So Corinne Schrum is off, and she is now shooting prone. Margot Alvarez, Katie Trombetta, and Brooke Haas are also there. And in lane 2, it's Lauren Seaver.
I was watching Margot Alvarez. She was having a lot of success in the warm-ups, both from standing and prone. Schrum starts with a miss.
That will be 3 thrusters and a run.
Suver starts with a hit on lane 2.
Suver, meanwhile, hit one on lane 2. Schrum has hit her. Alvarez with a hit on her first shot.
And this was the question was, okay, how much time is it going to take first shot? And is it worthwhile really trying to make the shot, or just say, hey, I'm just going to hit off all 5, then I'm going to go do my run, since that's what I know how to do?
Well, I talked to the folks who created the format, and they tried to create a penalty that was going to be indicative of the effort and difficulty, so that you can't do that and succeed at this event. They said if you blew everybody away on the physical part, you'd still come in mid-pack at best if you missed all your shots. Alvarez is clean.
Yeah, Margot Alvarez, 5 for 5.
So her practice range this morning, she looked great. I marked her as somebody who might have a lot of success at this competition. Now she's going to go to the standing position. Also clean is Haas. So Brooke Haas and Margot Alvarez getting a huge lead on the rest of the group. Now they just got to stay chill. See, they've got a gap now. Everybody else is trying to catch back up, and they can just chill out and stay relaxed on that Ski Erg.
Margot Alvarez and Brooke Haas, they are your leaders right now in this first of 2 heats. They are on their second of 4 skis. The next round shooting will be standing, and that's the one that has given people tons of problems.
This is difficult. It's way less stable, and the hardest part of this is you don't need a perfect sight picture to hit the target. You just have to have a perfect trigger squeeze. But the nuance of the trigger squeeze is something that takes years and years to develop. So that's why this is so difficult. But I did see Margot Alvarez shoot clean in her warm-ups on the shooting range from the standing 1 time, and she hit 4 the other time. Well, so she's shooting well.
And she has shown in her social media and other platforms like that she is doing some practice with the shooting.
Fisa Gaffi is another woman who was clean through her first shoot, and she is back on the Ski Erg. The way this is scored, they will get 1 point for every 10 calories they complete, and then they get a rep counted for every target that they hit. And then if you get a penalty, you will get a rep based on how many penalty laps you complete.
As we watch Alvarez here on the screen, one of the things I've been watching all week is the technique of the double pulling. Now, this is another thing that has been perfected over decades and maybe even a century in cross-country skiing, is the initiation on the double pull motion. A lot of athletes drop their butt back a little too early. Margot Alvarez is doing a really good job of getting high, starting high, but getting her hips into it as well. That initiation creates those watts that you need to move the meter and make your calories. So she's doing a great job.
And it's really a matter of using your body to your best advantage. Use your weight of your body to pull those handles rather than trying to use just your arms.
Your arms or your core or just your core.
So Alvarez is done, and now she will go to her second round. This one will be standing. There are 2 prone rounds, 1 standing. Brooke Haas is there as well.
This is the big test, and this is where everybody's in their mind is challenged. You can see the frustration in the training that the athletes have had. Some had some success, but Alvarez is about as good as anybody I've seen in the standing position today.
Alvarez and Haas both on their second rounds, and Alvarez will miss her first.
Starts with a miss. Everybody else still on the org, just 2 athletes shooting. Haas is yet to shoot.
Alvarez misses again.
You can look at the technique difference. You've got Haas with her elbow on the hip like a real winner biathlete. Alvarez gets a hit there. Alvarez is shooting like she's out kind of the hunter style, I'll say.
And that's the form you're talking about.
That's the form I'm talking about. Her elbow is on her hip, and she creates that bone structure that supports the rifle. And the way Julia Alvarez or Margot Alvarez is shooting is fine, but it gets harder and harder the more tired you get, and you get that bone structure with the way Haas is shooting.
Alvarez so far has hit just 1 of 5 targets, so right now she's looking at 3 penalty laps.
And you saw her take that big breath. She's trying to cool everything out down, calm the breathing, calm the heart rate, and calm the frustration. It's not fun to have a miss.
One of the things I liked what I heard her say on the shooting range today is that she has to do the same thing every time, and I talked about that, but she said, I have to come from the top down and try to catch the shot as I'm coming through. And that's a really wise way, and the harder it gets, the more you have to be confident in that ability to hit the target. She's got 2 hits. That's not terrible, considering how long she's had to practice this sport.
Brooke Haas, meanwhile, has hit 1 of 4. Corinne Schrum now in 3rd place has missed her first shot. Lauren Seaver also missed her first. Rachel Garibay has 2 hits.
Garibay's doing great. Haas has 2 hits. I think at this point, if you can hit 2
in the standing,
it's pretty good.
Huge.
So
I played with this the other day. I was able to get one standing. I wasn't breathing hard. I was fine laying down, but the standing is completely different.
I felt like I was on a boat when I was standing. That
Right.
site was going all over the place. It is a lot harder than it looks.
Well, to be clear, the difference from what the winter athletes do and the summer athletes, what these athletes are doing is they're shooting from 50 meters. From the prone position, they have to hit a target the size of a silver dollar from 50 meters. But they have to hit the size of a DVD for standing, so there's different size targets. What we're seeing here today is the same target no matter what.
Right.
And so it's much harder to hit the standing target. The prone target is actually a very fair thing for these athletes to try to hit, being beginners.
So great effort for Rachel Garibay, who hits 2 of 5. Again, she is the woman who right now would receive the invite to the CrossFit Games from this event, but she is locked in a tight battle with Corinne Schrum, as Garibay has just a 2-point lead over Schrum in the standings. As we take a look at Fee Sagafi, who was clean in the prone position.
Now struggling standing.
But went 0 for 5 standing.
Looking at the shooting scores, you got Schrum with 3 hits, Trombetta with 3 hits, Nickimja Durazo has 3 and has 1 more shot to go. And Nickimja Durazo hits 4 out of 5, so good shooting for her. Look, she's
pumping. She should be.
Well,
That's great.
We talked about, like, okay, if you look at the total 15 shots, if you get, like, what's going to be probably a winning score, and you said if someone gets in that 12 range,
I think so, yeah.
That's a massive score. So, I mean, you're going to do that well in the standing. That's huge.
That's huge.
Huge.
So Nickimja Durazo will make a huge. She was way behind the rest of the group going into standing, but hitting those 4 shots puts her right back in the competition. She's not the last to hit the Concept 2 Erg by any means. Still 3 more athletes coming.
So Brooke Haas has taken over the lead from Margot Alvarez. They're basically even as they are on their 3rd of 4 Ski Ergs. They have to complete 30 calories, and then now they will go back to the rifle and do 5 more shots from the prone position, and then they will finish with 1 final ski and a sprint across the finish line.
Looking at the Alvarez is still in the lead based on our graphics.
10 more calories remaining for Margot Alvarez. Her judge's hand is in the air. And for those of you who maybe didn't catch the top of this event, the voice you're hearing that you might not recognize belongs to Chad Somla. He's a former U.S. National Biathlon team member, and he's the man who did all the great commentary for the Olympic coverage for biathlon last year at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. We certainly appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's been great. I've kind of been soaking up. I'm a newbie to CrossFit. It's been really fun to try to conceptualize what this event might mean to CrossFit, and I think it's really an interesting event. It's different in the fact that I think it's a much more cerebral and mental challenge than perhaps the other events, which are really quite brutal physically. Not that this isn't a brutal physical event, but it's a completely turn of the corner for these athletes as far as the mental strategy.
Well, and we really like CrossFitters pride themselves on you give me anything,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'll be able to do it. And this, I mean,
I
this
picked
is
that
a
up.
perfect test of that. Yeah,
I picked that up.
We're not cocky or anything. But
Margot
we
has
think we're
hit
pretty
her
good at
first
everything.
shot, meanwhile, as she's back to the prone position, as she was a perfect 5 for 5 the first time she was here, and now she's 2 for 2 as Brooke Haas, who's in second place, she's on the right of your screen, is on her 3rd and final shoot.
We talked about that 12-shot opportunity where we thought 12 might do it. Margot Alvarez is 3 for 3. She was clean prone, had 2 hits standing. Schrum starts with a miss. Nobody else has taken a shot yet in shooting
Now
stage
4
3.
for 4 for Margot Alvarez.
Gotta not think about it, just take the shot.
And 5 for 5 for Margot Alvarez. 30 more calories in the sprint across the finish line to Margot Alvarez. Looking to set the early time to beat here in the first of 2 heats in event 5, the biathlon. Brooke Haas, meanwhile, is staying clean.
That is going to be a huge score for both of these teams.
And Brooke Haas a
clean
perfect
as well.
5 for 5.
Haas has a chance here. She has to get on the ski erg. She's back about, it looks like about 10 calories roughly from Margot Alvarez, who's been on the Concept 2 now erg for about 15, 20 seconds ahead of her.
Margot Alvarez and Brooke Haas. Haas is on the left, Alvarez on the right. This is your fight for first place right now in this heat.
Alvarez at 14:30 now, 12 through 25 the calories for Haas. Great shooting performance by both these leaders in this first heat. And then the interesting thing is, how are they going to hold up against the next heat?
Well, I think that puts a lot of pressure on the final heat.
I agree.
The fact that they went unbroken like that, the fact they're able to get that many good shots off,
Yeah, it's great shooting performance by both of them.
Alvarez's judge's hand is in the air, meaning she is in the final 10 calories. Brooke Haas's judge has yet to put her hand in the air, so Alvarez has the lead here. 30 calories on the erg. And Alvarez is done, and Margot Alvarez with an impressive effort in the opening heat, and she will win her heat as she sprints across the finish line with some impressive skiing and some very impressive shooting. 12:21.73 seconds unofficially.
You know, I spent the whole morning watching the practice range, and I was trying to watch the vibe, who had the confidence. And I had her in the back of my eyes. She spent a lot of time. She was hitting a lot of shots, and her confidence coming into this event looked great, and I think that really carried her through.
Oh, man, yeah, she did great.
And she is a golfer, so she's used to doing things that require a lot of accuracy. Not sure how much that plays in, but she's very used to a very mechanical movement like a golf swing.
Well, I like golfing too, and if people ask me what's biathlon like, and imagine playing par golf and you're not a par golfer and you're going into hole 9. That's biathlon. How's that 9th hole going to go? So if you've ever been in that position, you know. And honestly, shooting is like a golf swing.
So Brooke Haas, meanwhile, has finished. She's in second.
It's like a golf swing. Once you get that rhythm, you want to do the same thing over and over again, and that's how you have success. It's very similar sports mentally.
That is Nickimja Durazo, who was 4 for 5 standing to put herself in this position, and she only has 4 points. She's in dead last in the overall standing, so if she finishes towards the top in this event, she can really propel herself up the standings and possibly get into that battle for the invite from the Rogue Invitational to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, just 3 misses as well for Mat Durazo, so she's a 12 for 15 shooter. That was kind of the number we were throwing around.
That's amazing. That's amazing. The fact that they were able to, there was a lot of talk about this event and what am I going to do shooting-wise. And the fact that some of these athletes already in this first heat coming out and showing so much prowess right out is pretty impressive.
Mat Durazo is in. She'll take 3rd in the heat, and that is huge. And Rachel Garibay right now is the woman who has that invite to the CrossFit Games. And she is getting set to finish up. So as close as she can finish to Mat Durazo as possible, the fewer points she will cede.
Yeah, they really seem to like the shooting. I was talking to Laurel Horvath. She says she might buy one of these rifles.
Meanwhile, Katrin Schrum is across the finish line. So she came into this event only 2 points back of that woman, Rachel Garibay, as far as the invite spot is concerned. So Schrum may have just overtaken that from Rachel Garibay. 5 seconds before we hit the time cap, Garibay did herself a favor by getting inside of that mark, and that is going to do it. Colleen Lehane will get time capped, as will a handful of other athletes. But Margot Alvarez will take the heat, and that is going to be a tough score to beat. She was impressive on that rifle.
Yeah, she looked great. I think her focus, she figured out, when I asked her, I was asking several athletes, what have you learned? And one of the things Margot told me is that I learned I have to do the same thing over and over again and focus on my breathing, and she clearly did that. I think she's probably going to be a little bit disappointed with her standing shooting based on what she was doing in warm-ups, but the rest of it was great. She was perfect from the prone. There's her standing.
Just looked amazing. I was so impressed. And that's one of the things that Margot is so good at, is technicality of things. This was a very technical event, and the fact that she was able to come out and put it all down the way she did was impressive. Plus, she's got so much just competitive confidence. So I think she was able to really know what she had to do and then put it into action, and man, it really showed.
Yeah, the only other person that gave me that same sort of confident vibe from the shooting range this morning was Tia Toomey. She looked great. She was hitting targets. She didn't spend nearly as much time on the shooting range as Margot Alvarez did, but she left the shooting range with a 4 out of 5 prone and a 5 out of 5 standing, and I think she just said that's enough for me. So it'll be interesting to see if Tia Toomey can challenge Margot Alvarez in the next heat.
So Alvarez, the only woman to go sub-13, 12:21.73 seconds. Brooke Haas will take second. She has already qualified for the CrossFit Games. And then Nickimja Durazo and Katrin Schrum are going to make things interesting as they pick up points on Rachel Garibay in the battle to receive the invite to the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. Rory McKernan is with Margot Alvarez.
Margot, an amazing performance here. You've gotten to go in a lot of events at the CrossFit Games, at regionals. How does this one compare? What did you like about it?
This event in particular was really unique and different. It's the first time we've had any type of shooting in any sanctional or CrossFit event, so I thought it was really unique and different, and I love that Katie and Bill put it in.
How did you prepare for it?
Did some preparation, a lot of mental preparation with Alex and another head trainer with tactical training back in Vegas. And a lot of it, I knew coming down to it would come down to the shots and making them and not have to do any penalties.
Now, you have an opportunity to go to the CrossFit Games, but you said you will not. Why is that?
I've spent a lot of time training. It's been 8 seasons, and obviously I've shared that with the community. It's hard because I get emotional because it's been a big part of my heart, and I'm very happy to have been part of the community from day one. And this, thank you guys. And if I qualify, I would decline and pass to the next person and let them have that opportunity because I've had 6 seasons at the games and a couple prior to regionals, and it's been amazing, and I would want them to experience that.
Well, on behalf of the fans, we thank you, and congratulations on an event win.
Margot Alvarez with the top time as we have 1 heat to go. And once again, here's a look at the challenge. It is 4 rounds of skiing and 3 rounds of shooting, 2 from the prone position and 1 standing. And it's that one in the middle that is really the key here.
And we talked about it earlier. We knew that that was going to be the key. It's going to be how much are you able to recover and keep yourself calm during that particular one, especially if you're able to go 5 for 5 or have a really good score on the prone.
Absolutely, and I think these guys are a little bit of an advantage because they're seeing what the event entails. They know what the high water mark is on the shooting range. I talked to Ani Torresdottir before the start of the competition. She said, and I quote her, she has to slow it down, remember not to rush, and take her time and just focus on hitting the target. And I think that's the key, is it's so easy to be kind of, you're used to these brute force events and you're really pushing, and this is an event where you actually have to take it back a notch and just kind of be calm. And so it was pretty interesting to hear that she recognized that in herself.
Here are the 10 athletes competing in the second of 2 heats, and all of them have already qualified for the CrossFit Games. So now the battle is for the event win here at the Rogue Invitational, and it is Tia Toomey who has the overall lead, 362 points, a 22-point lead on Sara Sigmundsdottir. And we start with that 30-calorie Ski Erg as Laurel Horvath, the woman who finished second to Tia Toomey last year at the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games, gets to her Ski Erg right next to Danny Spiegel, who's on the bottom left of your screen.
And you know, one of the things that this particular heat in general, it's cool for this heat is the fact that there's no pressure. Everyone already made it, so there's no pressure. But even with that, you know, they still have to think about what their recovery is going to be as they're coming through. They also want to make sure that they really stay with the technique. They all learned how to do it. They had some professional, you know, Olympians coming out and showing them how to shoot. Now it's just about coming out and having some fun. The point of this sanctioned event is to make and qualify for the game. They already have.
Right.
So they get to come out here and really experience this and have some fun.
And have fun and just enjoy it. They had a some great teachers. You got Susan Dunkley here, who's out on lane number 9. She's actually the silver medalist from the 2017 World Championships, the first woman and only woman in the history of the United States Biathlon to win a medal at the Worlds.
Crazy.
She's out there as one of the officials today.
That's Brooke Wells going through her 30 calories. Tia Toomey, she's your overall leader. The athletes will get 1 rep credited in the scoreboard above for every 10 calories that they complete. First place overall, trying to hold off Sara Sigmundsdottir, who is 22 points back.
And we talked about the confidence that she had leaving the shooting range this morning. You said that she felt very confident having that 5 out of 5, that 4 out of 5. She does that so well anyway. She rides off of confidence, and when she gets that, you know, has a great event, it carries her into the next event. You just watch her ride that wave. It's amazing how she can do that.
I've spent my life around Olympic athletes, successful Olympic athletes, just watching them, what they do. I saw Michael Phelps win his first gold medal, and you tend to pick up when you watch champion athletes, and Toomey has that. Tia Toomey has that. When I watched her leave the shooting range, she didn't overdo it. She did just enough to hit the targets and left. And I watched her yesterday. I don't know her at all, but it's really interesting. It didn't surprise me when I watched her performances yesterday to see that confidence as she left the practice range.
Just about every athlete is done. Now they all are finished with their first Ski Erg, and all of them are on the rifles, and they will shoot 5 shots prone. Kristen Holta getting set to shoot. She has skiing in her blood. Her father competed at the 1984 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo in cross-country skiing, so she should know how to work that erg.
Well, yeah, he was a mid-1980s. I think he actually competed in my hometown. We had a World Cup ski event in my hometown when I was just a kid, and her dad was in that field, so it's pretty cool.
And Katrin Davidsdottir goes 4.45, and she will run 1 penalty lap and do 3 thrusters as a result of that miss. Laurel Horvath so far 3 for 3. Carrie Pierce is 4 for 5 right now. Aramo is perfect.
Carrie Pierce and Horvath on that last shot. They're thinking about it, taking their time. Pierce gets the 5th shot. Horvath trying to she gets her 5th shot. So Horvath and Pierce and Aramo all go right back to the erg. That's a huge boost of confidence for both of them.
Kristen Holt is going to run 2 penalty laps. Thorisdottir missed 3. Sigmundsdottir only hit 1. So she's going to fall way back here off the early pace. As Carrie Pierce, Laurel Horvath, Katrin Davidsdottir, and Christy Aramo are all on their second of 4 30-calorie skis.
And it was interesting to watch. So we know that Katrin missed that one shot. She went down, did the penalty, came back, but because she was able to get those shots off faster than the other ladies, she basically got to the erg the same time everyone else did. So she's right in the mix with everyone. She didn't even lose anything missing that one spot.
And you see that a lot in normal winter biathlon, that the faster skier or the quote-unquote better athlete can often absorb that penalty, as long as it's not too many, as long as it's not 2 or 3 penalties. Carrie Pierce now leading Davidsdottir, but not by much. They're just 10 calories apart right now as they move through the second Ski Erg portion.
Laurel Horvath and Carrie Pierce, they are on the right side. Christy Aramo is in the bottom left. Those are the 3 women who were perfect through round 1. As far as scoring is concerned, each round is 8 reps. So 3 reps for the 30 calories and then 5 reps for the shots.
Katrin Davidsdottir moving just ahead of Pierce now on the physical side of this event. Watching the technique, most of these athletes have it figured out. They've done a really good job of figuring out where their hips need to be on initiation. We see, if you see a little bit of a raise of the heel, that's actually a good thing. You might not do that as you get more tired, but when you get a little bit higher and the heels come off the ground, it's a sign that their hips are getting forward and
it's
into
like a little bit of a jump into the swing, right?
Exactly. Get their body high and let their body weight come down.
Carrie Pierce and Katrin Davidsdottir are done with their second of 4 skis, and now it's the shooting portion, and they will do this from the standing position, and this is going to be the difference maker.
Pierce is one of the athletes who's trying to master that biathlon standing technique where you put your elbow on your hip. She's a little bit off her hip, but it will give her a little more stability. She starts with the miss. She struggled in the training this morning in the standing and then hit 4 for 5 on her last time. So she can't hit the targets. She knows she can, but she's a lot more tired now than she was when she was practicing.
Christy Aramo, meanwhile, has hit her first shot, misses her second. Davidsdottir is the same, hit her first, missed her second. Pierce now 0 for 2. Horvath is on the rifle, and she hit her first shot.
Now Toomey's on the range on 0.5. She steps in. Ooh. 2 hits for Davidsdottir, 2 for Horvath. Horvath has 2 for 2. Davidsdottir has 3 hits standing. So Davidsdottir is doing a great job of holding it together mentally in this hardest of 4 for 5.
Wow. Impressive for Katrin Davidsdottir. She's going to sprint to that penalty lap. Carrie Pierce, meanwhile, went 2 for 5. So Katrin Davidsdottir is going to be well in front here once she gets done with her 1 penalty lap. Laurel Horvath hit her first 2, but then missed her next 2.
Toomey has a hit and then a miss.
The Horvath goes 3 for 5. Solid result for her.
And Davidsdottir right back on the erg already, as most of the athletes are still on the shooting range.
The time to beat belongs to Margot Alvarez, 12:21.73 seconds. Did that in the first heat.
One thing we didn't talk about is the actual range time. The range time, it's a penalty in itself.
Totally.
The longer time you take, the more the rest of the field gets away. And Katrin Davidsdottir is running away with this biathlon event off of a great shooting performance. She's just missed 1 each of her 2 shooting stages.
Tia Toomey, meanwhile, goes 4 for 5 on her standing round.
She's going to try to get back in this, but Davidsdottir's got a huge lead on the field.
Well, the thing that I saw with Davidsdottir is after she was very successful in that standing segment, she was coming back smiling. So she knew she made it through the hard part. Now it's like, okay, now I can just get going. I can lay down. It's all going to be money from here out.
Yeah, you kind of start forcing the pace a little bit. She's probably pushing just a little bit harder on this erg than she did the first erg set because she knows it's not standing shooting coming up. Toomey's back on, trying to chase down Davidsdottir. She's still in 4th, trailing by, about 100, roughly 100 calories right now.
And I will say all those ladies that were up in the front, when you watch them from the side, they all are going huge into the technique. You really see them really trying to get that elbow onto the hip bone like the coaches were telling them yesterday. And before it was like, hey, my lats are kind of in the way. I mean, these are CrossFit athletes. We have
huge.
lats, you know? So they're like, put your elbow in the hip, and it's like, I can't get there. But all of them are really trying to make that technique work for them. And, like, the fact that they are getting they're being so successful on all those shots is amazing.
Katrin Davidsdottir now on to her third and final round of shooting as she is trying to hold off Kristi Eramo, who is on the Ski Erg. That's the battle for first place.
I think that point you were making about the shooting position standing, I think that was really critical, and the men should take notice of that as well as they go in.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get tired, that bone structure really matters.
Davidsdottir hits her first target.
Davidsdottir spent a little bit of time, just shot once from the prone, once from the standing in warm-ups.
2 for 2 for Davidsdottir.
So she's feeling confident.
3 for 3.
I like her focus. Really calm.
4 for 4.
And
one shot remains.
Look at how fast she's taking
5
the
for
shot.
5 for Katrin Davidsdottir. And now one final Ski Erg, and she is looking to demolish Margot Alvarez's top time of 12:21.73.
That is an impressive shooting score. 13 for 20, and that's going to win it, I think, because Davidsdottir is way out in front.
Wow.
Great composure. We talked about the time of the race. She basically fed to what we were talking about. She came in and had more confidence, and her confidence kept growing, and she let them go. She shot more like a world-class biathlete cadence, very quick, probably 1 to 3 breaths between shots, and that cadence is really a good indicator. We were talking about doing the same thing over and over again. One of the things that helps you do that is getting a good cadence.
Yeah, and one of the things that the coaches were talking to the athletes earlier was, don't try to be so perfect. Take your breath in. On the breath out as it's coming down, take a shot. So it's cutting the time down, but it's also making it so you aren't so unsure and bouncing all over the place.
Well, Katrin Davidsdottir is setting a new standard for the sport. If this is ever contested again in any CrossFit event, she's proving to be the master at this.
Meanwhile, Kristi Eramo goes 5 for 5 on her final round. And she will get back to the Ski Erg, and she flashes a smile to the crowd.
She's going to jump right into second place with that shooting performance.
These are your top two. Katrin Davidsdottir's on the right. Kristi Eramo is on the left. Tia Toomey, meanwhile, just went 5 for 5 on her final round.
That's huge. She goes right back on the Ski Erg. She has a chance to catch Eramo now. There's only 3 athletes chasing the leaders now that are no longer doing penalties. There's Toomey.
Sara Sigmundsdottir, who's in second place overall behind Toomey, is now just getting to her third round. These are your top 3. Tia Toomey, bottom right. Katrin Davidsdottir takes off to the finish line, and the sled dog can shoot. Who knew? Katrin Davidsdottir takes the biathlon.
Wow, 10:26. Crushed it.
Nearly 2 minutes faster than Margot Alvarez's prior top time of 12:21.73 seconds. And Kristi Eramo looking to lock up second place in this event and second place in the heat. Tia Toomey on the right of your screen is trying to track her down on the erg, but Eramo had a good head start on Toomey.
Shooting performance for Toomey. Has 2 misses on the day, so 13 for 15 for Tia Toomey, but just a little bit off the pace on the physical aspect of it from Davidsdottir.
And Toomey's judge's hand is in the air as she has caught Eramo on the Ski Erg. Eramo's judge's hand is in the air. So Toomey,
oh, it's going to be a sprint between the two of them.
Looking to take second place in the event.
Oh, Toomey moves into second right there. It's going to be who can get to the finish line first.
The Toomey's done, she is off, and Tia Toomey is going to take second place. Eramo is done. Eramo will take third. And that is huge for Tia Toomey as far as the overall standings are concerned, because the woman immediately behind her is Sara Sigmundsdottir, and Sigmundsdottir is on her final ski right now.
Sigmundsdottir sitting in 6th.
Horvath is across, and Horvath, her time is good enough for 4th place in the event. Now Carrie Pierce getting set to finish up.
Carrie Pierce had a really good start to the event. Hit 5 for 5 and then missed 3 in each of the last 2 shooting stages. So she had a good start, but it's easy. You can forget.
Well, that frustration, once that starts to seep in there, it really can erode all the confidence and erode really what you're doing. So start off great, you're like, oh, this is amazing. Until all of a sudden, I hate this one. This isn't fun anymore.
It's classic biathlon. You think you've got it figured out, and then you start thinking the thoughts you shouldn't be thinking.
Carrie Pierce just came across the finish line. She was in 5th place in the event as Margot Alvarez will slide to 6th. And now here comes Sara Sigmundsdottir. She is across. It's Sigmundsdottir, 6th in the heat, 7th place in the event. She gets a hug from Tia Toomey. Kristen Holte getting set to finish up.
I really think this, we know the physical aspect of this event, you know, in the Ski Erg, but I think that it's so much more of a mental game.
It is.
So the athletes that are able to really control that negative thought process when anything's happening are going to be huge. And we know that's one of the things that Katrin Davidsdottir has done a lot of work with Ben Bergeron, with her coach, is that kind of training, that I'm going to stay right here, I'm going to stay very focused, I'm going to keep the mental thoughts, control what I can do, all that kind of stuff, and man, it paid off.
It doesn't matter what sport, mental self-talk or negative self-talk in competition is pretty human.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty common across all sports. Nowhere is it more important not to do that than in the sport of biathlon.
Well, when you need to be so accurate, you know, it's one thing if you can move things around and it can be a little bit more forgiving. It's really not very forgiving. Like, you have to hit the target.
It's very
not
immediate.
a very big target.
No. I mean, it's literally a blink of an eye. It's a twitch.
Yeah.
And you're not missing by a lot. It's like, you know, it's tiny little increments that you miss the shot compared to hitting it. So it's a game of micro inches.
Annie Thorisdottir and Brooke Wells are on their final ski, and their judges' hands are in the air at about the same time. So this one will come down to a sprint to the finish, possibly. And Annie is done first, and she is off. 45 seconds, now 40 seconds before we hit the 15-minute time cap as Thorisdottir gets in 14:18.62 seconds. And that will be 11th in the event.
She had 9 misses out of 15 shots, and that tells you how important the shooting is. This is great for the guys to see this as well as they're coming up next, and they can kind of get a sense of what they need to do. And we talked about that 13 hits won it.
And Brooke Wells is done. She's going to get in inside the time cap, and that leaves Danny Spiegel as the only athlete left on the field, and she is really trying to finish up those calories and get across the finish line, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen for her. Great effort from Spiegel, but just weren't able to get in across the finish line inside the time cap. Katrin Davidsdottir, though, smashes this event. 10:24.05 seconds to take the win.
What was most impressive, I thought, with her was the fact that she was confident all the way through. Now, we saw the same thing in Margaux, but just that 2-shot difference was almost a 2-minute span, you know, based on what you're going to do. And you could see her confidence growing. It's like, oh, I missed. I mean, the fact that she was able to only miss one on the standing portion, you saw how happy she was with that, came out with that smile. And then from that point on, it was like, oh, I'm in. And that confidence was huge.
And she was able to shoot well because she paced it well. She didn't go out too fast. She did what we call a negative split race. She got faster and faster, and the confidence grew. And that is exactly how you do this sport.
And she put on a clinic with the rifle as she was perfect from the prone position both times.
And did you see that? The breath in and on the way down, take the shot, done. Perfect timing.
And she was quick on the bolt even. Everything was great there. Her mechanics on the bolting was good. Her confidence coming down on the shot was good. She knew that she could hit the targets. And that's really what it's all about, is seeing the target go down and feeling like you're going to make it happen again. She was dominant.
Katrin Davidsdottir takes the event with a time of 10:24.05, the only woman to go sub-11. Toomey, Aramo, Horvath, and Pierce, they all beat Margot Alvarez's top time, so Alvarez slides down to 6th. And Nickimja Durazo, her 10th place finish, that's by far her best finish so far of the competition. Corinne Schrum, Holly Henderson, and Rachel Garibay, 3 athletes who are locked in the battle for the invite from this event. And Schrum may be the woman who hangs on to that, but we'll have to see how the official standings play out through 5 events. But Rory McKernan is with your event winner, Katrin Davidsdottir.
Katrin, I'm going to quote Sean Woodland. He said, "Who knew that the sled dog could shoot?" How did you get so good at this?
So yesterday wasn't quite my day, and every time that I came off and I was frustrated off the field, I would go right to the shooting range, and I was practicing.
Okay, so that's one thing that you've done in this particular competition. Everyone can take a page out of your book on how to move past something that they're not particularly happy with. What are the keys to doing that for you?
It's good practice. It's 8 events, and at the games, it's 5 days. Everything's not going to go like you want. So for me, I look at it as great practice for the games. It wasn't my day. Today's a new event. We have 3 more, and I told myself and my coach that we were going to have one good event each and every time, and hopefully we can high five and have a good day today.
And we're excited to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, Katrin Davidsdottir.
Overall standings now after 5 events is Tia Toomey, who continues to lead as she increases the margin between her and Sara Sigmundsdottir. Kristen Holta moves into 3rd place. Annie Thorisdottir and Katrin Davidsdottir rounding out the top 5. Corinne Schrum is now the woman who holds on to the invite to the CrossFit Games, and she is just 6 points up on Rachel Garibay as that invite continues to get passed around with now just 3 events to go. The men are coming up in the biathlon. Let's take a look at their standings coming into this event. This is halfway on day 2 of the 2019 Rogue Invitational. It's Patrick Vellner, who is your overall leader, 344 points. Mat Fraser currently sits in 2nd place. Chandler Smith is in 4th. This is a guy who came here just looking to earn an invite, and he is in the mix for a possible spot on the podium. 280 points. And this is what the men will be facing. It is the biathlon. It will be 4 rounds of skiing, 3 rounds of shooting.
And there was an absolute lesson in the women's heat, so hopefully the guys saw that. They know that the prone will be okay. They know how important the standing portion is, and then really getting after it on that final prone segment.
I think what's really interesting as you look at that leaderboard is how somebody could, guys in 3rd, 4th, and 5th can get the points in this event. If somebody that's at the top of the leaderboard really struggles in this event, it's kind of a fulcrum event for this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the man you just heard, if you're just joining us, is Chad Salmela. He is a former U.S. Biathlon national team member, and he was the man that probably got you fired up watching biathlon at the Winter Olympics last year with his commentary at the Pyeongchang Olympics in 2018, and he has been kind enough to join us up here to add some expertise to the booth in this event. Here are your lane assignments for the first of 2 heats. Colton Mertens and Ben Smith are 2 guys who, man, they have to have a huge event here if they want to make up the deficit that they currently have on Chandler Smith. And let's send it down to Rory McKernan with more on the rifle that these men will be using in this event. Ro?
Yeah, Sean, we're going to talk actually about what their POV might look like. I've got Emily Drezogactor with me here. She was my coach yesterday, so you know she's good. But she's going to give you a look at what it actually looks like POV style.
All right, so you can see in the middle here, this is the actual target, but they don't only need to line up one sight with the target. They have 2 sights. So there's a sight right in front of their eye, and then there's a sight farther out, and they need to sort of line them up so all the circles match.
And the only input I can have is that when I was doing it, let me see, that dot was going up and down like that once you get that breath heavy. So you got to choose your shot, use your breath, and shoot on the way out.
Yep, especially in standing.
It's really interesting. The coaches here, all members of the Craftsberry Green team, and several of them are Olympic biathletes. But the little lesson you just got there from Emily Drezogactor is it's really easy to forget to line up the sight right in front of your eye. There's a sight down at the end of the barrel that you put the black circle in the middle of. But a lot of beginners will miss the shot because the sight alignment, it's called, is they'll actually be a degree or 2 off by having their cheek piece on the rifle stock in the wrong place and not looking at all 3 circles instead of just the 2 at the end.
So crazy. And what we talked about with those coaches earlier was, okay, what do these guys need to do? What would I need to do? The first thing is you have to worry about that recovery, because it's how can you push hard on the Ski Erg and then bring that heart rate and that breathing down. And the last thing is the technique. And I didn't really realize there was a real specific technique, not just I need to hit the target, but I need to line my body up. I need to get my elbow, my hip. And we're going to see who is able to utilize that and have some success with it, or who can just kind of shoot the way they've normally shot their regular guns and have success that way, which I didn't see as much success that way versus the technique.
I think you're right. I don't want to condemn those folks to not hitting targets, so they might prove us wrong. But there's a difference between, also, a lot of people have gone hunting. This is very different than hunting. You have to really control your breathing and get into a rhythm with the breathing. You're not breathing hard when maybe your heart's pounding hard because you're trying to shoot your target, but it's a different kind of shooting for sure.
Heat number 1 is underway, and we start with 40 calories on the Ski Erg. They will receive 1 repetition for every 10 calories they complete. Then they have 5 shots from the prone position. And for every shot that they miss, they have to complete a penalty lap, and that penalty lap consists of a run down to the pylon and then 3 kettlebell thrusters at 53 pounds.
Yeah, when you can only do 1 or 2 thrusters compared to somebody who's doing 5 or 6, that's the difference becomes exponential in this event. It's really been interesting, having never seen this event, or having none of us ever seen it, to see how it's kind of playing out. It's quite a good format. I think it's fair, and I think that we're seeing the kinds of gaps that you would expect to see when the shooting is done well.
Jacob Pfaff working through his first 40 calories.
Watching the double pull technique there, you see that get the hips high.
And those are the targets at which the men will be shooting once they are done. And you really don't get an appreciation for how small they are until you look at them through a sight.
Yeah, it's about the size of a little bigger than a $half from 10 meters away, so about 10 yards. It's not a long distance, but it's a really small target for that distance.
And I was hearing that the distances that they use and the size that they use, this ends up being comparable, even though they brought it closer. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say categorically it's a little bit easier than what the winter biathletes are doing. This is a much easier prone shot to hit.
Well, come on now. We don't want to go expert level right out of the gate. Put us in intermediate level.
But the standing is pretty close. The standing, if you come out, the difficulty of shooting standing is pretty close to the difficulty of shooting standing in the winter biathlon sport.
Rasmus Andersen is the first man onto the rifle. Now Ben Smith is there and Jacob Pfaff, Casper Gamelmark as well. Andersen hits his first.
And I'm looking to see how these guys breathe, and you can see what Rasmus does. He takes a breath in, and then as he's breathing out, and that's what all the coaches are telling us, to shoot on the exhale, and the sight will, and you're basically fulcruming over that elbow, so it actually, the barrel is rising as you're exhaling, right?
So as you got a full breath, the barrel's down below the target, and as you slowly let it out, it should land on the target at nearly full exhale, about 90% exhale. That's where you want it to settle.
Rasmus Andersen and Jacob Pfaff both go 4 for 5, pardon me, so they have 1 penalty lap to complete before they can return to the erg for their second of 4 skis.
Nobody perfect from the men's competition. Martin has got 3 for 5 right now and is still shooting. But again, Andersen's back on the erg, as is Mertens.
Dylan Martin right now 5 for 5. So Dylan Martin, the only man to be clean in his first shoot so far.
Martin comes off the shooting range, goes right back to that ski erg. He moves right into the 3rd position. Even though he took his time shooting, he's put himself in contention for the win now by being perfect.
Rasmus Andersen on the right of your screen, he is your leader. Jacob Pfaff, who was also 4 for 5 on the shoot, is in second, and it's Dylan Martin, courtesy of his 5 for 5 effort from the prone position, who sits in 3rd.
And with Dylan Martin, we got to remember, when you're shooting, you're taking your time, your heart rate, everything's coming down. He didn't have to take that trip back, where his heart rate's going to start to go back up again with the run, the thrusters coming back. So he gets to come to the ski erg fresh. So he's got the time it takes to run down, do the thrusters, to come back is going to be about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds more rest than he got over Rasmus as they hit that ski erg together.
And maybe more importantly, he goes into the standing shoot without having done a single thruster. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's what I mean. Everything is still down, just a little bit less than everybody else.
Those increments of stress are just a little bit less.
These are your top 3. In the bottom left is Jacob Pfaff, and then in the right, in the red shirt, that is Dylan Martin, and next to him in the white is your leader, Rasmus Andersen. Each round is 9 reps. You get 4 for the 40 calories, and then 5 for each shot you make, or for each penalty lap that you complete.
Rasmus Andersen has really good technique on the ski erg. He's got his hips really high. He extends his body all the way to the top of the machine. Big guy.
Well, he's super strong. So he can, when he puts all that power in one direction, he's powerful.
And he's using his body weight on top of it. He's a big guy, so those calories come off the erg really quickly.
And Andersen now on to his standing round. He was 4 for 5 from the prone position.
He's breathing hard. You can see this is going to be a tough shooting bout for him. He really gave it on the ski erg, but he's got good, solid standing position. He's using that.
Makes his first shot.
Oh, that's a great start for him. Huge confidence building. See, he's trying to get his elbow down on the hip, trying to use his skeletal system.
Now Dylan Martin.
He's got 2.
Is on the rifle, and Andersen 2 for 2. Pfaff, meanwhile, has missed 1. Andersen with his first miss.
And Pfaff goes very quickly, 2 for 5, and goes right into the penalties. Andersen's got to keep track of that, make sure that he doesn't get too far behind. Now he's got another miss. He's equal with Pfaff with 1 shot left. Got to make this a hit if he wants to take the lead back. He does.
So 2 penalty laps for Rasmus Andersen. And once he hits 18 reps, he will be into his 3rd round. Dylan Martin, who was perfect in round 1, is now 1 for 3 in round 2. And he is taking his time.
That time kind of melting away there. You got to play the game. You've got to decide. It's a double jeopody situation for him right now. If you want to get back in this race, you got to kind of take the shot.
And he has now missed 3 of 4.
And that lead is just melting as Berman.
Martin ends with a hit, so he has 3 penalty laps to complete. Rasmus Andersen, meanwhile, is back on the erg for his 3rd of 4 skis. 40 calories on the erg, and then he will be in the prone position one final time.
Berman went 4 for 5 for the 2nd straight time. He's going to do 1 set of thrusters and get right back on the erg. He's got Andersen is out in front, Pfaff chasing him. And then it's going to be, it looks like Berman is going to move into that 3rd spot and get on the erg.
Rasmus Andersen is your leader. Jacob Pfaff, and followed by Jake Berman.
Right now the best shooter is Jake Berman with just 2 misses out of 10 shots.
And Jake Berman just got back to the Ski Erg. He is on in the middle of your screen. He's in the dark blue shirt as Dylan Martin in the red is completing his penalty laps.
Andersen though with a huge gap now. Nearly a 5-calorie gap on Pfaff. Nice cadence, nice smooth motion by Andersen. Watching him double pull, he looks comfortable. He looks like a cross-country skier. He's got a nice initiation. It comes straight down, goes straight back up, nice and efficient. He's not wasting any extra motion. And then you look at Berman, he's a little more flailing. He kind of moves his arms out to the side, using a little bit more extra energy. It's not as efficient. This is a power generating sport, and it's relatively short, but efficiency does pay off on the shooting range as the event gets longer.
Andersen's on the left, Jacob Pfaff is on the right. That's your battle for the top spot right now in this opening heat.
And Pfaff just looks exhausted. I mean, there's no other reason to be on that skier and not be using your body to pull those down. I mean, you can see him, it's almost like he's taking a rest every 2 strokes, and that's just not going to get him moving what he needs to do. He can use his body and just come down with it. Let your weight pull that ski down, pull those handles down, instead of just, I mean, that moving your arm, you're just wasting time.
Yeah, Andersen had really consistent, smooth motion, so he's not using any extra energy on tension anywhere in his body, just nice and relaxed. When you come to the bottom, his shoulder muscles would relax. It's a really good sign that he's got an efficient motion.
Andersen back to the rifle now. This is his final shoot, and then he will complete 1 more ski and then get across the finish line, so he has hit his first.
Looks really good.
2 for 2.
His trigger squeeze is really smooth.
3 for 3 for Rasmus Andersen.
Yeah, he's got this figured out.
Jacob Pfaff now on the right of your screen onto his final shoot. 4 for 4 for Andersen with 1 to go. And Andersen is clean through his final shoot, so 40 calories remain, and then a sprint across the finish line.
Magic number, 12. 12 for 15.
Jacob Pfaff, meanwhile, misses twice. So he's going to fall off the lead pace as he has to complete 2 penalty laps.
Now the door for 2nd place is wide open. As Berman now trying to fill that spot as Andersen rolls away from everybody with his great double pulling technique, really smooth shooting, great focus. Berman is, he misses his 3rd shot. If he can hit these last 2, he'll go 12 for 15 as well. Berman on his final shot, and he gets it.
4 for 5 for Jake Berman, but Rasmus Andersen is all by himself in the lead, as we are now inside 5 minutes to go before we hit the time cap.
Andersen now really racing the 2nd heat. Berman comes back, going to be chasing Andersen. Pfaff, in the meantime, has moved ahead of him.
Here comes Berman back to the Ski Erg for his final ski. Rasmus Andersen putting the finishing touches on his event. Andersen is done, and he will take the heat. Fantastic effort from Rasmus Andersen as he crosses the finish line. 10:49.79 seconds.
I really liked his performance. There were no spikes in it. It was just a smooth cruise.
Consistent all the way through. Yeah.
Both his double pulling motion and his shooting style. That is really well done.
That's Jake Berman, who is trying to take down Jacob Pfaff for second place in this heat.
And I don't know why. That throwing the arms thing is so popular with the Ski Ergs. I know that people are trying to recover. I think it's kind of coming from a wall ball technique, but you're not getting anything out of that. It's not recovering you. You're not getting anything extra. Right. It's a lot of extra movement. You want to stay as consistent as you can. Your arm has to stay in one plane. Use your body and relax on the way up. You're supposed to recover on that upward stance.
Well, the argument for it would be that it's comfortable to him and that he can turn it over, and it's relatively short event. But in cross-country skiing, what we're really looking for is the least amount of effort from point A to point B. So when you're fully extended behind your hips, you want to go straight back up with as little effort as possible and let those shoulders relax.
Just let it relax.
His shoulders are really working when he's on.
Because he's trying to pull them up quick. Yeah.
Right. So really what you want to do is your body will go back to the normal spot. So, it's not the most efficient, but it still might generate enough power.
Jacob Pfaff is across the finish line ahead of Jake Berman. Pfaff 12:06 even. Berman 6 seconds behind him at 12:12.41 seconds. And that leaves Dylan Martin as your leader on the field. And Martin is just about done with his final ski. Martin is in the middle of the field now, right in front of you in the red shirt. Martin is done, and he will get in well inside the 15-minute time cap. 12:43.68 for Dylan Martin. And Kasper Gamelmark on the Ski Erg. The only athlete right now choosing to wear a hat.
Well, the snow is bright today, and it's really warm out here. The snow is,
Well, we wear hats in winter biathlon because it's cold out. I'm from Minnesota. This is awfully hot for me. I don't think I could be doing this with a hat on.
Gamelmark is one of the athletes who will be going to the CrossFit Games after finishing 24th in the Worldwide Open. He's out of Denmark. He'll be making his first trip to Madison, Wisconsin. 4 men are left on the field. Soon to be 3 as Gamelmark is now done. And he will sprint across the finish line. It's Jake Fry, Ben Smith, and Colton Mertens, who are all still on the field. Ben Smith on the right, Mertens on the left.
Well, it's good to be right. We talked about what kind of shooting performance we thought we'd need to win this, and the women it was 13, which really surprised me. I didn't think that. I honestly didn't think that we'd see a 13 hit event, but the men winner 12 hits. That kind of seemed like the looking at the penalty compared to the efforts, it seemed like the right number, and it has proven to be so.
Mertens is across, and that leaves Ben Smith and Jake Fry as the only 2 athletes left on the field as we have about 30 seconds to go before we hit the 15-minute time cap.
And with Ben, I think right now he's just taking this as, it's just a training day. He realizes this is not going to be a successful finish for him as far as getting himself to the games. He knew he had a late start, after his surgery. This is just a training day now, and that's what I'm hoping for him, that he's taking it as that, so he's not, getting himself into an unpositive situation.
And Ben Smith is going to sneak in across the finish line just underneath that 15-minute time cap. So Jake Fry will be the only man in the opening heat to not complete the event in those 15 minutes. Rasmus Andersen with some impressive shooting now has the top mark with 1 heat to go at 10:49.79 seconds.
And it was really fun to watch Rasmus just stay so confident through that entire segment. started off very strong. We know he's a very powerful athlete, so you know he's able to work that Ski Erg without any sort of an issue. And Chad, you were talking about how clean his performance on the Ski Erg was, which was great because, and that's something these guys do. But when it came down to the shooting, that's where I was even more impressed with what he was doing. He seemed very confident, just like what you were saying. Did the exact same thing every time. You could see him, breathe in and then exhale, and then that's when he would take his shot. Very successful first round, came back. We were wondering what the second round was going to look like. Still very successful on the standing shots, and we knew that was going to be an issue for most. Wasn't an issue for him at all. He looked amazing.
No, he looked great. If you look at the three people that have really succeeded in this event, you look at Alvarez on the first heat of the women, you look at Davidsdottir on the second, you look at Rasmus Andersen. It's all about finding that kind of cool, smooth approach to the event. When you're emotionally high, emotionally low, physically high, physically low, it doesn't work. But you got to be smooth from start to finish.
Rasmus Andersen, the only athlete who goes sub-11, 10:49.79 seconds. Jacob Fash finishes in second. Jake Berman and Dylan Martin, followed by Casper Gamelmark, rounding out the top five. Let's send it down to Roy McKernan with Rasmus Andersen.
Well, Rasmus, you've done a lot of things. One of the more veteran athletes who's here, and you said you can't wipe the smile off your face. You said that was a really cool event. Tell me why.
Well, it's just something new, right? We haven't tried shooting in any events before, so I think it's fun, like combining fitness with shooting. It's sort of in my wheelhouse, so obviously I'm not complaining, but I think it's a good test as well. It's fun.
You were really composed. You did fantastically. How did you prepare yourself for it personally?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I have no idea. Like, I am not on a biathlon. I have no idea how they do this. I was like standing in the bathroom, kind of like lining it up. Like, no, honestly, just warming up as I would to any other event, loosening up, and then we were able to practice the other day a little bit, and that's sort of it, yeah.
I know you've got a heavy focus on team, but you're here as an individual. Why did you choose to come and compete?
Because this is awesome. Like, because of this, because of everything that's going on here, because of the crowd, because of the thing Rogue put on. I was like, I'm not gonna turn this down.
All right, thank you, Rasmus Andersen.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Rasmus Andersen will have to wait and see if his mark is good enough for the event win, as we have one heat remaining. Here are your overall standings coming into the day. Patrick Vellner found himself on top of the overall leaderboard at the end of 4 events. He has a 12-point lead over Mat Fraser. Cole Sager's in third, and it is Chandler Smith in fourth. Rasmus Andersen can move himself up the leaderboard as he comes in 12th place overall, but looking to rack up 100 points with an event win. The second heat of the biathlon, the 5th of 8 scored events here at the 2019 Rogue Invitational. Patrick Vellner, the overall leader, will be in lane number 5, and Chandler Smith will be in lane 7. One man who will not be on the floor, that is Lucas Holmberg, who withdrew today. He was dealing with an illness yesterday, but man, Chandler Smith, we knew he'd be in contention for an invite, but this guy's in contention for the podium.
He's in contention for the podium. He's showing that he deserves to be here along shoulder to shoulder with some of these guys. And in this particular event, I mean, he's an Army rat. So I want to see what kind of shooting ability is going to be able to carry over. We had a discussion on what it would. Same thing with someone like Mat Fraser. We know that he shoots. We saw how he was shooting. He kind of chose to do his normal technique. Is that going to work, or is it going to be better to go with their actual technique?
Well, I've been in the military. I was a biathlete, then joined the Army, and I had to relearn how to shoot, actually, the M16. So it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. We're about to find out, but I think it's a great opportunity for Chandler Smith to get in onto the podium with this event.
So just like everything else, we already know how important the recovery is, and I don't think it's a matter of, are you recovering during the row or not? Or during the ski part or not? It's how much you can slow everything down and relax you, not just your heart, but your mental mind state. The other thing is going to be the technique. We saw how important and how well it worked. Not just am I putting my elbow on my hip, but when am I deciding to shoot on the exhale, knowing how long to wait before you line up those sights. All those things played huge. The people that followed those leads in the last 3 heats succeeded. I want to see if we're going to see the same thing here.
Yeah, Margot Alvarez was telling me that in the women's side where she won her heat and she was really good on the shooting range, she said that she had to focus on her breathing. I think it's a really good thing to focus on. When you're not an expert at this event, it's good to pick 1, maybe 2 things that are giving you success and just focus on that and try to put everything else out of your mind. And I think that's what these guys have to do to be successful.
Chandler Smith, as the man you just heard is Chad Somala, the guy whose voice you might recognize from the Olympic biathlon coverage last year from Pyeongchang. He's been kind enough to join us in the booth here. Former U.S. national biathlon team member. As Chandler Smith works his way through his 40 calories on the Ski Erg. Each round is 9 reps. You get credit for 1 rep for every 10 calories, and then 1 rep for every shot you make or for every penalty lap you complete.
Travis Mayer heading to the shooting range. Right behind him is Horner.
Mayer and Horner, the first 2 men onto the rifle. And now Mat Fraser is onto the rifle as well. Here comes Noah Olsen. Chandler Smith, who dons his glasses. Chandler's in the bottom right.
We'll see how if that effort on the erg was too much. Both Horner and Mayer start with a miss. The door is wide open for the rest of the field. Smith starts with a hit, as does Mat Fraser. Horner hits a second.
Well, Fraser's 2 for 2 right now.
Mayer's 0 for 2. Fraser's 2 for 2.
Fraser 3 for 3.
Fraser
with his first miss, and Chandler Smith with a miss. Travis Mayer has hit 1 of 5, so he's struggling. So Mat Fraser goes 4 for 5, so he'll complete 1 penalty lap.
Nobody clean from this second heat yet. Panchik is 3 for 3. He could move into the lead with 2 more good shots. He's 4 for 4.
Meanwhile, Chandler Smith taking off on his 2 penalty laps. Panchik goes 5 for 5. For Scott Panchik's going to be in the lead, although Mat Fraser's getting back to the erg about the same time as Scott Panchik.
And that's what's important is, okay, yeah, Matt did have that miss, but he didn't take a long time on those shots. He was very fast. Scott Panchik took a lot more time, made those shots count, but those 2 guys are now on the Ski Erg at the same time. Now, we already know that the next one is going to be the important one.
Right.
That's going to be really what determines what happens.
And you know that Mat Fraser, he's the gold standard of the sport.
Oh my God!
Physically, he's the guy to beat. But Panchik took the extra time. It's nice. The duality of the sport was really exhibited well there between Fraser and Panchik, and the way they approached it. That Panchik has now the advantage to be almost even with Mat Fraser, using the shooting range to do that.
Now, even if you watch the way Scott Panchik is doing the Ski Erg, he's using more arm than we saw Mat Fraser do. I mean, I would pick to do it the way that Mat Fraser is, which is really using his body. But Scott just seems very relaxed. He seems very relaxed. He's using his arms. He's not getting as much power into that output, but he's just keeping everything nice and calm, which I think is going to be important going into the standing.
Right. You have to remember that the power output also takes calories. It takes heart rate. It takes time. It takes things that are going to throw you off your game in the standing shooting. And Panchik being smooth, just like we saw in the last 3 winners of the last 3 heats, he's keeping it smooth and relaxed. He's not maybe going for max power right now, but enough power to stay close to Fraser.
There are 31 scored repetitions. Each round is worth 9 reps. They will do 3 complete rounds, and then they finish with a 40-calorie Ski Erg. It's 1 rep for every 10 calories, and then 1 rep for every shot made or for every penalty lap completed. Scott Panchik is your leader. He's through 12 of those 31 reps. Mat Fraser right there with him. Cole Sager sits in 3rd. And Chandler Smith, who is the guy who had received the invite from this event to the CrossFit Games, sits in 4th. If he just avoids a total disaster today, he's probably going to Madison.
Well, that disaster can be avoided on the next shooting stage. If he can hit 2 or 3 standing, that'll get him out of the woods. But if he misses all 5, then he's got trouble.
Scott Panchik is done, and he will now move on to his 2nd shoot. This will be done from the standing position, and Mat Fraser is right there as well, as the 2 of them try to catch their breath before they will start squeezing off some shots here.
Oh, this is interesting. Fraser's watching Panchik. Panchik is watching Fraser. They're recovering.
That's exactly, but that's Matt's thing. He does that. He'll settle down into that haunch position and just see where everybody is.
Fraser's up first.
What's amazing to me is I wasn't sure how winded these guys would look from the Ski Erg, and they look pretty tired. I mean, that's making it a very real biathlon event by comparison to the winter edition.
Well, Fraser misses his first shot.
Hits a second, though. Got to hold it together.
He's just so fast.
2 for 3.
He's rapid fire on
Yeah,
those.
he's 2 for 2. He's in a good mental state right now. I'd say if he can just get these off, squeeze these off, even with a penalty, he can take the win. But he doesn't want to take too much time. A little bit of wind circling around the stadium, that's not helpful either.
Panchik, meanwhile, is 1 for 3. Sager's back on the rifle. He hit his first shot. Fraser 3 of 4.
Oh, this is great for Fraser. He's almost just got to squeeze this off and go for it.
I mean, I've asked this before. I've asked this question before. What can't this guy do?
That's amazing.
I think we need to have a drawing contest. Maybe he's not good at drawing because he's good at everything else.
Oh, so here's the thing. He's clearly a mental giant. He's so confident. He didn't look particularly great in the training shooting, but he goes 4 for 5 in the standing. He's missed 2 out of 8 out of 10 shots. Great position for Mat Fraser.
Meanwhile, Chandler Smith went 0 for 5.
And that's huge.
Oh, that's
a
rough.
huge thing.
He's going to spend the better part of 2 minutes doing penalty laps, and that is going to sink him down the results. Got to try to not get too crazy about it. He looks like he's approaching it well. He's just jogging the jog. He's not trying to get worked up. And the best thing for him is to stay composed through these 5 penalty laps.
I mean, the good news for Chandler Smith is he has such a huge cushion right now over the men chasing him in the standings for the invite that he can punt one into the stands and still be okay.
Yeah, but the sad thing is that he's going to lose the chance of the podium just a little bit more with this 5 missed performance.
Well, we already know that he's one of those guys that has a lot of negative. I mean, even self-proclaimed. I talk negative a lot. Like, that voice gets very loud. And he had a very successful first day. He doesn't want to have those, I guess that was just a fluke. I guess that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm supposed to shoot and I didn't shoot. He needs to be okay with this. He needs to just let it roll off his back and just keep on going.
It's funny you should say that. As I came to this CrossFit event, I didn't really know what to expect, but that was the one thing I thought would be the issue for these athletes, is that the difference between this and other events is that fine difference between positive and negative mental self-talk. That's the difference of this sport probably from any other event they're doing this weekend.
Mat Fraser and Travis Mayer and Scott Panchik are your top 3. Street Horner is up there as well. Fraser threw 21 of the 31 repetitions. At 22, once he completes that, he will move on to his final shoot, and that will be from the prone position.
Mayer has snuck in there. He's only hit half of his target, so he's doing very well physically on this event. But Fraser,
and that's his thing. I mean, he's got a very high pain tolerance, so he can just grind on the physical work.
The shooting performance at this heat, this men's heat, is the worst we've seen today. But Mat Fraser is right at the top of it. He's chasing Andersen's time. He's got 2 misses out of 10 shots. It's really a solid performance. I am impressed with Mat Fraser, as I've been all weekend.
And Fraser's really going to have a good shoot here to catch Rasmus Andersen. Andersen's time to beat the upper left-hand part of your screen, 10:49.79 seconds. Remember, Matt has to shoot, then he has to complete whatever penalty laps he's assessed, and he has one final 40-calorie ski.
Wind picking up. It's a little bit unfortunate for these guys. It's better now that they're in the prone position. The wind can blow you around in the standing, but now he's got the more stable prone position.
Fraser hits his first shot.
Watching his cadence.
2 for 2.
Good, even cadence. Looks composed.
Perfect so far, 3 for 3.
I'll be surprised if he misses one at this point. He just looks like he's in the groove.
There's a miss.
I jinxed him. I jinxed him. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Matt.
You know what? He can tell he felt that one due to the wind. He's looking up there like, come on, really?
Well, Rasmus Andersen looking like he's going to win the event. We are about 70 seconds away from his time. Fraser
gets the
4 for 5.
12 hits of 15.
The 1 penalty lap for Mat Fraser. And the good news for Fraser is, even though he's not going to win the event, he's chasing Pat Vellner in the overall standings, and he is way ahead of Vellner right now.
Vellner sitting down in 8th spot. Missed 6 of his first 10 shots.
Fraser back on the Erg for the final time, 40 calories, as Travis Mayer, Scott Panchik, Cole Sager, and Street Horner all on their final shoots.
Fraser not conceding that 10:49. He's flying on the Erg.
Rasmus Andersen looking like he's going to lock up the event win. The second best time is 12:06. That belongs to Jacob Pfaff. So if Fraser gets in inside that, which there's a good bet that's going to happen, he'll earn 90 points. He trailed Pat Vellner for the overall lead by 12.
Chandler Smith doing a good job. Chandler Smith is 3 for 3 on his final shooting stage, trying to claw his way back into this. 4 for 4 for Chandler Smith on his last shooting stage. And he misses and drops his last shot. It's the classic 5th shot biathlon shot.
He just rushed that. He just rushed it.
It's Smith now just 1 penalty lap to complete, and then he'll get back on the Ski Erg. The key for him right now, just don't finish last.
I think he's going to do better than that. He's moved right back into the competition. But that was great. 4 for 5. The first 4 shots, missed the last shot. It's very typical in biathlon. You let that last shot go. We have a 20-shot shooting stage, and the 20th shot is the hardest shot in biathlon.
Mat Fraser with just less than 10 calories to go. He is done. And the 3-time fittest man on earth is going to take 2nd place in the biathlon. 11:46.87 seconds.
Horner chasing in 2nd. Vellner now has moved up to 5th with a good shooting performance on his last stage. Vellner cleaned his last stage, went right back to the erg. No penalties for Vellner on the final shoot. Missed 6 of his first 10 and then went 5 for 5 in the last shooting stage.
So Vellner trying to do damage control now, as it's looking like Mat Fraser is going to erase that 12-point deficit and overtake Vellner in the standings and sit atop the leaderboard with 3 events remaining.
That's a sign of what kind of competitor Vellner is. He come back with 5 for 5.
Well, and
that's his MO.
That's his deal. Totally. He always puts himself in a hole and digs himself out every single time. But I think what's even more impressive is where Chandler Smith is. He's sitting in 4th overall.
The Street Horner and Cole Sager in a race, as Horner's going to get there just ahead of Cole Sager. The Horner's going to take 5th of the event. Sager will take 6th. Chandler Smith is done. Smith will get across as Patrick Vellner is right behind him.
I mean, there were a lot of penalties for Smith. A lot of penalties, and still being able to stay that much. So like you said, Sean, just don't take last.
He takes 8th.
That was a great finish.
8th place in the event. Patrick Vellner will finish in 9th place. So Mat Fraser will now be your new overall leader with 3 events to go today.
Think about Vellner. He hit more shots in his last stage than he did in the first 2. That's amazing comeback for him. Great sticking point for him to stay in the competition the way he did.
Scott Panchik at the far end of the field, and Noah Olsen with no shirt. They're on their final skis. Panchik is done. Willie George is also out on the field. Less than 2.5 to go before we hit that 15-minute time cap. Now, Olsen is in. George is still completing some penalty laps. With George back to the Ski Erg, he has 1 minute to do 40 calories to get inside that 15-minute time cap.
Now that we've seen 4 of these heats, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the event, the way it was laid out. It's been a very fair balance between physicality and the mental aspect of shooting. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to come up with a format that's not been tried before. So kudos to the organizers on this great event.
Willie George, who will be going to the CrossFit Games for the 2nd straight year after he was crowned the French national champion out of the Worldwide Open. With now 20 seconds to go. Ten seconds for Willie George. And that'll do it. So Willie George, the only man in the final heat not to finish the event. Mat Fraser will take 2nd place in the event as Rasmus Andersen hangs on for the win. But more importantly for that man is he is now atop the overall standings.
And I have to say, this has been a really fun event to watch. And not just to watch for what it is, but watch how these guys have adapted to it. You see someone like Mat Fraser, and just like you say, Sean, what can't this guy do? Seriously, what can't this guy do? The fact that he just bleeds confidence in his abilities, whether he knows exactly what's happening or not. Watching him shoot, we know that he's a gun guy. We know that he goes out and shoots. That's cool, but he did his own technique. You didn't see him doing the elbow on the hip, but still was able to come off and get 4 out of 5 shots on the standing position. The poise was incredible. Very, very fun to watch. And the other thing, he didn't let distractions distract him from his goal, which is jumping him back up into that #1 position.
The thing I like about this event for CrossFit is that it hits that point about what makes champions. A lot of people can do a lot of physical work. A lot of people can train, but when push comes to shove and you've got to perform, the mental ability to do that Mat Fraser clearly showed that.
Rasmus Andersen hangs on for the win, the only man to go sub-11. Mat Fraser finishes in second, and he is with Rory McKernan.
Well, it took a little bit of a run to go get Mat Fraser, but Matt, a fantastic showing in your heat. And you have practice, we know, with guns, but this is a little bit different. What was the biggest differences you noticed?
You know, I shoot a lot of pistols, and I do it on a day off, so it's with a low heart rate. But so when this got announced, I got asked a lot, like, "Oh, you must be excited." No, it doesn't really translate. So had to practice just like everyone else, and kind of then hope for the best.
You were surprisingly good standing up compared to a lot of the athletes. Did you find that to be easier?
No, I definitely just slowed down the ski, took way more time before I got to the rifle, so just trying to get that heart rate down as much as I could.
And then we saw that one that you missed on the last prone shooting. What happened?
Yeah, 3 shots went well, and then a nice big gust of wind came in, so I just kind of laid there for a minute and waiting for it to die down. But no, happy with the results. Rasmus killed it, so it's good chasing him.
All right, congratulations, Mat Fraser.
The individuals are done, but we have more biathlon to come. The legends take on this event when we come back to the 2019 Rogue Invitational. Second and final day of the first ever Rogue Invitational from Columbus, Ohio, at Rogue headquarters, this beautiful 600,000 square foot facility. The third event for the Legends is up next, and we talk about those 10 general skills. Accuracy is one of them, and we're testing it here in the biathlon. Here's where we stand for the women's Legends competition coming in. Samantha Briggs with a perfect 200 points. Becca Voigt-Miller sits in second, and it's Annie Sakamoto who is third by 2 points over Christy Phillips-Adkins. I'm Sean Woodland with Bill Grundler. We are joined by a man who knows a whole lot about biathlon, Chad Samla. You may not recognize the name, but I'm certainly sure you're going to recognize his voice. He was the man who did the color commentary for the Olympics coverage of the winter biathlon competition last year in Pyeongchang. This is the test that the athletes are facing. 3 rounds of skiing and shooting, and then 1 final ski.
So just look at that rifle. We've never seen anything like this in a CrossFit event ever. And, there was a lot of talk about this particular event and how different it would be. And, like we were talking about, Sean, accuracy is something that is one of the 10 physical traits. And so we're testing that to a key here. And it's been so fun to watch.
Well, I didn't know that. When I was asked to come and join you guys, I didn't have any idea what CrossFit was. I've been really kind of been marinating in it for the last 48 hours. But this is great. I mean, I love the fact that these athletes are being tested in a way they've never been tested before. And I think this is a great way to do it, to implement an Olympic sport, in a type of Olympic sport into your competitions. And we've seen some great performances already by these athletes. So you look at Mat Fraser, he showed why he's great at anything he does.
Annie Sakamoto will be in lane 8, and she is someone I've talked to before the competition. I know she has practiced for this event.
It was fun to watch all the athletes go through the practice, go through the training with the coaches. I think that everyone is excited to really try something new and test their fitness skills with that to see what they're going to do. But Annie, the thing about Annie, she's always smiling. That's the most notable thing, other than the fact, just below the fact that she's such an amazing athlete and has been for so many years. She's always having a good time, and we talk about how important confidence is in an event like this, really enjoying it, not getting negative thoughts and frustrated. I think that's going to really play to her strength in this particular event. She's going to have a good time no matter what.
Well, the thing that draws all of us who have been biathletes into the sport is really the shooting aspect. Most of us come from cross-country skiing, which I did as a young athlete, switched to the sport of biathlon at age 19. And what really draws you in is the sort of zen-like requirement of being a good shooter, and it's actually fun. It's fun except when it's not fun. It's
fun except for when you're missing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun when you're hitting. Those hits, those first hits you have as a young biathlete, really pull you into the sport, and then you start figuring out all the nuance to the shooting, and that's when you have ups and downs as an athlete. It's just like being a slugger in the major leagues in baseball. They have highs and lows. They have troughs where they don't shoot or they don't hit the ball very well. So that's really the draw, is that it is fun, and you've heard a lot of athletes say they love the shooting.
For every shot you miss, you have to complete a penalty lap, and that penalty lap consists of running down to the pylons that we just saw and completing 3 kettlebell thrusters. And those things can add up. You miss 5 shots, you're doing that 5 times.
Well, and that's part of the strategy of what are you going to do when you're in here. Do you just try to pop off a lot of shots real quick and take the penalty, or do you really spend some time and make sure that you're going to make them work and maybe only get 1 or 2 penalties?
The interview with Mat Fraser was pretty telling. He slowed down for the standing shooting, which really probably won him that heat. He was second in the event, but he realized that his heart rate needed to come down for the standing shooting, and he just backed off on the double pole.
So Becca Voigt-Miller will be the first to shoot. Now Sam Briggs is there as well.
Voigt-Miller was spending a lot of time on the shooting range earlier today, practicing, having some success. She starts with the hit.
Becca Voigt off to a good start. Samantha Briggs has yet to take her first shot.
Athletes taking their time, trying to calm themselves down. And I think this is where the surprise might enter in. The difference between being in competition and in training is a very big mental difference, and there's also a big physical difference because you're kind of going for it a little bit more on that first erg visit.
Voigt-Miller now 2 for 3.
And across the board, we've heard everyone say, in practice, not in practice, even on the floor, laying down is easy, quote unquote easy. For the athletes that are struggling here and that are having misses, that's really going to could send them into a negative headspin for that standing, because they know that's the hardest part. If they're going to do bad here, they're not going to do better there.
Becca Voigt-Miller goes 4 for 5, so she'll run 1 penalty lap. Kristen Clever so far perfect, and Annie Sakamoto 3 for 3.
She's still shooting, taking her time. Sakamoto is
now 4 for 4.
This is a good strategy. She's going to, if she can hit this, she'll go right to the erg. And
she'll miss her final shot. So 1 penalty lap for Annie Sakamoto.
What we were saying last heat, that 5th shot, it's the one. You're moving along, you got all the mental pieces right, and then you just think about that last shot and pull it left or right.
So Becca Voigt and Kristen Clever are on their second rounds. There are 8 reps in every round. You get 1 rep for every 10 calories, as Becca Voigt is getting an earful from Kristen Clever right now. So you get 1 rep for every 10 calories you complete on the erg, and then you get 1 rep for every shot you make or for every penalty lap you complete.
Clever took her time, but she hit all of her shots. She's the only one to be perfect so far on the shooting range. Voucher had a miss as well. And those are your leaders.
And here we are talking to Chad about the technique in the ski erg. We see Becca Voigt on the right-hand side using that body, trying to use as much as she can. I think she could probably use her hips a little bit more to drop herself down into it.
Right. I think one of the being a ski coach, I coached skiing for 10 years and biathlon for another 5. One of the things that it is harder for the females with a little less body mass in the upper body to throw their entire body into the double pull position. But the higher the hips, the better, generally across the board. She's looking good, though. It's starting to tire just a little bit. You see both athletes not quite as powerful as they were the first time on the erg.
Well, then Kristen Clever, her arms are bent that whole time, so there's a lot of tension on the biceps that she doesn't really need to have. I mean, let those arms kind of relax as they're coming back up.
Right. She doesn't need to have a real straight arm. You really want to absorb most of it with your hips and core,
right,
and just let your lats kind of stay loose and tight, and then relax at the end of the push.
Actually, Kristen on the left-hand side, that's a much better stroke, and I think it's because she knows she's coming to the end, she's starting to relax.
So Becca Voigt-Miller is done with her second erg, and now it is the standing portion of the shoot.
One of the things in winter biathlon is the wind is a big factor. The wind just died for this is
Becca Voigt-Miller.
Becca Voigt-Miller. The wind just died for her, and she's going to put her elbow on her hip. This is good. She could probably get a little more support with her hand being straight rather than bent the way it is at the wrist. But overall it's a good solid position. She's not muscling it.
Kristen Clever, meanwhile, just finished up her erg, and she will join Miller on the standing portion of this shoot.
You want to get through this wind, this relatively calm portion of wind. We've been seeing wind.
She misses her first shot.
Wind will really blow them around. It's hard enough to hold it steady when it's calm.
0 for 2 so far for Miller.
Waiting to see a hit from the standing position.
Kristen Kleber misses her first shot, and Becca Voigt-Miller now 0 for 3. Oh for 4 for Becca Voigt-Miller.
Kleber gets one. At this point, if you just hit any standing shot, you can win the event on standing.
Looks like Becca's having some issues with the bolt.
She might need to ask the range official to come help her out.
She may be out of shots.
No, she should have had one more. So I think that was a jam.
So she was 0 for 5. She's going to run her penalty laps.
One of the things that can happen in this event is if you don't eject, if you don't pull the lever all the way back on the loading, it'll jam. So the athletes have been instructed how to do that. And the range officials will come in and check the event, but they don't want to give anybody an advantage if they did something wrong on the bolting action.
Meanwhile, Kristen Kleber goes 2 for 5. Annie Sakamoto in the standing portion. She's 2 for 5 right now. Let's go down to Rory McKernan with more.
Hey guys, and Chad may know more about this. I know he was talking about the 22s that they use in the Olympics, but I was actually told by one of the range officials the opposite can happen here. You can double eject. If an athlete loads 2 into the chamber, you can actually double eject on one shot.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I'm not really familiar with this air rifle. I have used different air rifles. This is a different brand, and they have a very different magazine. So I think the ability to eject and do that smoothly can affect the competition, which is unfortunate. But the athletes have to figure that out as well.
Sam Briggs just left the shooting area. She went 0 for 5. Julie Fouché is 0 for 5. So the standing portion giving people a lot of problems. I was talking to Annie Sakamoto after her practice round. She said, I felt great when I was prone, and then I stood up. I said, who put me on a boat?
but the problem we're seeing here is the wind is really affecting standing. Like no heat we've seen yet, the wind is worse for standing than anybody else, and it's reflected in the shooting scores. Lots of red misses for the athletes on this shooting stage, and it's really unfortunate the wind picked up this way.
And it's not even just wind. Like there have been gusts of wind, but just in that last 30 seconds or so, there was a large dust that actually blew through. So that's going to change, how are they seeing the targets? What are they looking at? How much is that going to deflect the pellet as it shoots out of the gun?
It shouldn't affect them as much in the prone position. They're lower to the ground. They have a much more solid hold. But this happens in winter biathlon all the time. Athletes will lose an Olympic gold medal because they got a gust of wind when they're in the shooting range, and it's unfortunate. But that's part of the sport. It's an outdoor sport, and they're getting that full biathlon experience today.
Annie Sakamoto is now your leader. She is on her 3rd of 4 skis, and Kristen Kleber currently sits in 2nd place. Becca Voigt-Miller is in 3rd, and Tanya Wagner is in 4th.
Sakamoto leading largely because of those 3 shots she hit from the standing position. That is a huge advantage for her now as she goes into the final 2 erg spots and 1 shooting stage.
And I love the fact she's just staying nice and relaxed. And we talked about picking a particular cadence, knowing one that you're going to be able to recover from easily, and she's doing exactly that here.
This is the fight for the lead between Annie Sakamoto and Kristen Kleber. Meanwhile, Tanya Wagner.
Without her headphones.
Without her headset on, usually part of our broadcast team, but doing us proud right now as she currently sits in 4th place.
Wagner with a solid shooting performance. She hit 4 out of 5 from the first one, and really almost everybody having trouble except Sakamoto in the standing. So, the standing is almost gravy for everybody but Sakamoto. She's the only one that really pulled off anything of any significance, and that's why she's got this huge lead.
And Christy Phillips-Adkins is on her standing shoot right now, as Tanya's continuing to crank through her 30 calories. Then it's back to the rifle for 5 shots from the prone position. Each round is worth 8 repetitions.
I wish Tanya would just open up a little bit more with those arms, just get a little bit taller, a little bit more length on those cables.
And she might be getting just a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued, so the technique breaks down a little bit. That happens in skiing as well.
Yeah.
The lactate starts to build, the heart rate's going up.
Annie Sakamoto is done and will get set for her final shoot. She was really proficient the first time she was in the prone position. And this will be the final time she's on the rifle.
She's going to be happy it's not standing, that's for sure. Wind is picked back up. If you're not hearing it in our mics, we're trying to hang on to our paper up here in the booth. But
it is whipping around.
Sakamoto locks in on the first target, as does Rebecca Voigt-Miller.
Sakamoto hits her first shot.
That's the hard thing about the wind, too, is it takes you out of your cadence. It's very hard to get into good cadence because the wind's messing with you a little bit.
Now 2 for 2 for Annie Sakamoto. 3 for 3.
But watch that breathing. Nice breath in, she comes down, and that's when she takes her shot. So she's right on that tempo.
4 in a row for Annie. 5 for 5 for Annie Sakamoto. 1 Ski Erg remains.
That was great. 12 hits in a windy shooting range. She had the toughest shooting of any group this so far today. So could they walk away with 12 hits in this kind of wind? Spectacular performance for Sakamoto, really composed.
Meanwhile, Becca Voigt-Miller has got a good string going. She's 3 for 3 on her final shoot. She's on the left of the screen, now 4 for 4, and Kristen Clever starts off with a hit as well.
And Annie really wants to get some distance between her and Becca, because Becca can really put a lot of power into that Ski Erg, so whatever distance she can get, it's going to be huge.
And Becca Voigt-Miller is perfect. 5 for 5. She's back on the Erg, now in second place behind Annie Sakamoto.
Well, Voigt-Miller had the prone figured out. Missed 1 of 10 prone shots, but missed all 5 of her standing, and that's the difference maker between her and Annie Sakamoto.
And Kristen Clever 5 for 5. Tanya Wagner, meanwhile, is 3 for 4 with 1 shot remaining.
All these athletes really turning it around after a very difficult standing stage. We talked about that positive mental talk, so they did a great job of bouncing back.
And Tanya Wagner, she hits 4 of 5 shots, a 1 penalty lap for the 2009 CrossFit Games champion.
2 misses for Briggs.
I know Tanya would love to say she beat Samantha Briggs in an event. And right now she's ahead of her. Tanya may go home after this. I am done. I beat Samantha Briggs. I'm out of here.
Samantha Briggs, a 5-hit performance out of 15 shots, and that's why she's buried in the results, so to speak.
Coming up on 90 seconds to go before we hit the time cap, and Annie Sakamoto is off, and Annie Sakamoto is going to win the Legends Biathlon.
Good for her. Great shooting performance. Really, like all the winners we've seen, the smoothest performers are the winners.
Becca Voigt-Miller looking to lock up second place, and she will get inside the 15-minute time cap. Kristen Clever, the leader on the field right now in third, is she and Tanya Wagner with now 60 seconds to go to finish up their final 30-calorie ski. Now 45 seconds before we hit the time cap. Kristen Clever's judge's hand is in the air. So she is just about done with her final 10 calories.
Samantha Briggs is
Clever's done, and she's like, oh, wait, I got to run?
Briggs' tempo is amazing right now. Totally turning it over, trying to catch back up.
And Clever is in. And you want to talk about 3 women who helped lay the foundation for this sport. Annie Sakamoto, Kristen Clever, and Becca Voigt-Miller all finishing this event. And now Samantha Briggs is trying to catch up with Tanya Wagner. This one's probably going to come down to the final calorie count. Tanya Wagner's, and Samantha Briggs gets off ahead of Tanya. I thought Tanya had it as we hit the time cap. Still, to get that close to Samantha Briggs, awesome. That's impressive for our colleague, Tanya Wagner. Really proud of her and really proud of all the legends. That was a great show, and Christy Phillips-Atkins congratulating Tanya Wagner, Becca Voigt-Miller over there. But how about Annie Sakamoto? That was pretty amazing.
I mean, if you think about the fact that we have the Ski Erg element in there, you wouldn't pick the shortest athlete to do the best in this. It's just not going to happen. But we talked about positive thought. We talked about what confidence does, and we know that she has that. The fact that she was able to get, I mean, right out of the start, Becca Voigt-Miller great on the ski, confident on the shots until she got to the standing. Once she got to the standing, she had all kinds of problems and then broke down from there. But that's where Annie really picked it up. I mean, we talked about that special number of 12. If you can hit 12 shots, you're going to do well. She hit 12 overall and had a successful race.
And that's what's great about the sport of biathlon and winter biathlon and this biathlon as well, is you're seeing the great equalizer on the shooting range. Athletes who wouldn't expect to beat another athlete in that sport. In cross-country skiing, most of the biathletes wouldn't normally beat certain athletes in the field in just a cross-country ski race. But the great equalizer is are you a good shooter? And that's why Annie Sakamoto got the win today in this CrossFit event. She wins a CrossFit event because of her great shooting performance, and that's what makes it such a compelling sport.
Annie Sakamoto with the event win. 13 minutes, 30.40 seconds as she is all smiles as she crosses the finish line. It's going to be Becca Voigt-Miller who finishes second. Kristen Clevers in third, and Sam Briggs just edges Tanya Wagner by 1 rep.
I know nothing of the history between these athletes, but I was able to figure out that Tanya Wagner really wanted to beat Sam Briggs at the end of that event.
Everybody wants to beat Sam Briggs. Annie Sakamoto did beat Sam Briggs, and she is with Rory McKernan.
Annie's some sharp shooting there for an event win, but you said you didn't actually practice as much as we might think. Tell me how you prepared.
I just didn't want to know how bad I thought I was going to be at the shooting. I thought it would get in my head, so I consciously chose to not practice. I guess it paid off.
Apparently, yeah, so everybody can take something from that. Part of this Legends competition is reminiscing, so this is a unique event. I want to know your favorite CrossFit Games event that you've competed in.
I would have to say it was the triathlon in the 2012 Games. I love a good ocean swim, so that was a great way to start the games. The bike was just a ton of fun, and then there was so much camaraderie on that run. The run was treacherous. It's probably one of the worst runs I've ever done in my life. But the way everybody rallied together and ran together, and it wasn't a competition against each other, but just against the clock, and that was a really special moment.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you and congratulations on your event win, Annie Sakamoto.
Here are your Legends standings now after 3 events. Samantha Briggs with 272 points. Becca Voigt-Miller, 12 points back of her. And Annie Sakamoto, courtesy of that event win, moves in to 3rd place by just 6 points. The women's Legends are done. The men's Legends coming up next, and we'll have it for you when we return to the 2019 Rogue Invitational. Second and final day of competition here at the 2019 Rogue Invitational at Rogue Fitness headquarters in Columbus, Ohio. Thanks for being with us here today, everybody. The 3rd event for the Legends on the men's side is up next. It is the biathlon, and here's where we stand after 2 events yesterday. It's Dan Bailey with an 18-point lead over the 2010 CrossFit Games champion, Graham Holmberg. Jason Khalipa, the 2008 champion, sits in 3rd. And it's Chris Spieler who is in 4th place. The biathlon, skiing and shooting, and it's the shooting that has made the big difference here.
It's been a massive learning curve for all these athletes and a confidence curve. I think, just like we heard Annie say, I didn't want to know how bad I was going to do. It was going to get in my head. If it gets in your head, you do terrible. If you have a good range, if you have a good shot, you have fun.
We are joined in the booth by a former U.S. National Biathlon team member and the man who did the outstanding color commentary for the Biathlon Olympics coverage at the Pyeongchang Winter Games, Chad Somla. Chad, thanks so much for being here. It's been a blast having you. What's impressed you so far with what you've seen?
Well, I think the way the athletes have adapted to this new format, the way they've approached the shooting, the performances are really blowing me away. I think it's really amazing how quickly these athletes have adapted to something very new, and it's really not something that's in their repertoire.
Here are your lane assignments for the Legends men. Dan Bailey, your overall leader, will be in lane number 3. The 2008 champion Jason Khalipa will be in lane 5. Jason Khalipa, let's hope that he shoots better than he throws. For those of you who watched the 2011 Reebok CrossFit Games, remember the infamous softball toss, and accuracy definitely not his forte in that event.
Well, I think he just decided to throw with his left hand that time is what it was. It had to have been the case.
And we are underway, and we know that Jason is just going to demolish the Ski Erg.
Well, one thing we've seen in all the heats is that the people who have gone out a little too hard on the first ski erg have struggled in the shooting. People who come back, start a little bit under control, make sure that they're not going nuts off the start, and then have the composure to hit those first 4 or 5 prone shots. Those are the ones who go on and have that momentum built to take the win of the heat.
And Jason he's a big guy. He's got a lot of weight. So the fact that he's really using his body to try and drive those handles down, that's going to be huge for him.
40 calories on the ski erg for the men. There are 9 repetitions in every round as we take a look at Josh Everett, who there are a lot of people in this arena right now and probably watching at home who don't know who this guy is.
And if you don't, you need to learn who this guy is. He was one of the blueprints for if you thought you were a good CrossFitter, you looked at what his scores were. And the way they did it back in the old days was you looked on the old CrossFit.com website, and that's where the workouts were. So I know myself, I lined up a lot of however my workouts were. What did he do? What should I be doing? And I am thrilled that they have him out here, just out on the floor. It's huge.
I don't know Josh Everett at all, but I met him earlier today at the practice range, and he got into a position that I said, this guy's got no chance of success. He hits 5 for 5 standing. And I'm like, okay, I guess I stand corrected. So Josh Everett.
But that's what he does, though. In a lot of movements, he makes it work for him, and I think that's the way the old school competitive CrossFitters were. We didn't have, like Matt Chan said last night, there wasn't a blueprint. Right. They made it up as they went, and that's just what he does. That's
what's cool about the Legends category. It kind of the name, to me, as an outsider, the word legend kind of captures that spirit.
Oh, yeah.
Graham Holmberg and Tommy Hackenbrook are on to their first round of shooting. It is windy here, and Rory McKernan has more on that.
John, down here on the field, I'd love to give you a visual of it, but there's probably enough in the background there. Things are blowing really, really hard. It shouldn't matter as much on the prone as Chad mentioned, but when they stood up, I asked some of the range officers what they thought, and they said, you know, it's going to be more mental and it's going to affect body position, not the rifle itself. Obviously, it's not a long distance, and the actual pellet that's coming out of the gun it's got enough mass that it's not really going to affect its path. It's more about body position when they're standing up and the mental aspect.
That's absolutely right. I don't think that there's nothing affecting the trajectory of the pellet. It's really about, can they hold the barrel steady enough to have the confidence to even squeeze at the trigger, because that black dot's dancing around down there in the wind.
The Tommy Hackenbrook went 4 for 5. He has 1 penalty lap. Graham Holmberg 3 for 5. Jason Khalipa 3 for 5 as well. Matt Chan 4 for 5. And Josh Everett is on his first shoot, and he misses his first shot. Dan Bailey, meanwhile, misses his first 3, then hits his 4th. Chris Spieler is a perfect 4 for 4 on his 5th and final shot. And Spieler will go 5 for 5 and immediately get back to the erg. He is now your leader.
Well, you know, and they showed him, he showed some of the training that he did back at home. He couldn't get his hands on an air gun, so he just started using some of his kids' Nerf guns. You know, and he lives in Park City, so they got the snow part down, they got the skiing down. Then it's all about that Nerf gun.
Well, a lot of the best biathletes have trained just outside of Park City at the Olympic site, just over the valley in Heber Valley at Soldier Hollow. A lot of these athletes who are range officials here make a big part of their season training out by Park City.
There you go.
Chris Spieler currently in second place now as Tommy Hackenbrook was able to complete his penalty laps and get back to the erg quickly. Matt Chan in second place as Spieler has dropped to third. And Matt Chan was second at the CrossFit Games in 2012.
Chris Spieler is in that top 3 largely on the back of a great shooting performance, but he took a lot of time both in the first erg round and to take the shot, so he gave away a lot of the time, but it's a good thing he kept clean or it wouldn't be near the front.
Well, you have to figure the 2 guys that are sitting in the front, Tommy Hackenbrook and Matt Chan, big guys. They're going to put a lot of calories per hour on that ski erg, so they're really up there. I mean, that's always been the case with Chris Spieler.
And that's where he's at the disadvantage here.
And that's why we call him the giant killer, because he was always able to go toe-to-toe with any of these big guys, you know, but in this, he just mechanical advantage, doesn't have the advantage next to those guys, but he still does the work.
And Tommy Hackenbrook is your leader. Not only does he have a great pedigree as far as the CrossFit Games are concerned, he also played linebacker at the University of Utah, had 3 sacks in the 2005 Fiesta Bowl when Utah beat Pitt 35-7. And then in high school, he was the 1999 Oregon State Offensive Player of the Year at Mountain View High School.
Wind is really calm right now. He wants to squeeze these shots off before the wind picks up again. Try to just get 1 or 2 of them down, and that would be a great day on the shooting range from standing when this wind.
Misses his first 2 and hits his third.
But look at the speed that he's going.
Yeah,
wow.
he went 1 of 5, so 4 penalty laps. So it looks like he's just going to go speed over technique here and just try to get through these penalty laps.
Yeah, and then try to get back to prone and hit them all.
Well, and you have to figure, okay, how did that first set go? You know, he did have a miss in the prone, so he knew that all right, if it's not going to be super successful, fine. I'm just going to get it off. I already know I'm in front of everybody.
Right.
No one went really unbroken except for Chris, who was able to get that. So
Mat Chan 2 for 2 standing right now.
Yeah, this is the problem. Mat Chan just hit 2, and if he keeps going, then Hagenbrook is going to be in big trouble.
Holmberg hit his first.
Chan is
Spieler missed his
3
first. Mat Chan putting on a clinic here.
Calm shooting range. Taking advantage of it.
First miss for Chan, so 3 for 4 right now.
Holmberg's 2 for 3.
So Chan goes 3 for 5, which in this portion of the event for these athletes, that's a great score.
That's solid.
That's huge.
Solid. He only missed 1 prone. He's got 2 here. He's going to make up a lot of time on Hagenbrook here in this penalty loop. And it should be pretty close to even by the time they go back to the erg.
And Spieler goes 3 for 5, so he will have 2 penalty laps. And Hagenbrook is done with his penalty laps.
Wow.
So Hagenbrook stays in the lead. He is back for his 3rd of 4 skis at 40 calories.
And that right there, that's that trade-off of, okay, if I don't feel solid, I'm just going to knock him off, and I'm going to go run that out. Let everyone else take all their time to do all that.
Yeah, if he had
it's the only
taken,
other play you have.
Yeah, if he had taken 30 more seconds to have the same shooting score, he'd be in 2nd place right now.
Yep.
Chan back on the erg.
Hagenbrook's in 1st, Chan's in 2nd, and it's Graham Holmberg who sits in 3rd place. Those are the 3 men on their starting their 3rd round right now. After these 40 calories, they'll go back for 5 more shots from the prone position.
Still 2 shooters. Everett trying to hit standing shots like he was this morning, but he's only 1 for 3.
So Everett now made his first shot, miss his next 2 as Hagenbrook and Chan battle for the lead.
Chan's double pole motion, he gets his body nice and high, comes high with his hips.
And there's Josh Everett, and that is not the technique you teach.
That's why I was so surprised this morning.
He went 2 for 5, so not bad.
Solid.
For Josh Everett. Wearing his alma mater's t-shirt. He played football at Ohio Northern University, he also ran track and field. Tommy Hagenbrook's your leader through 21 of the 31 reps as we are past the halfway point of this event.
Mat Chan right on his heels, though. Actually,
well, look how hard he's pulling. I mean, he's putting all kinds of power into that Ski Erg.
That's Dan Bailey, who's your overall leader coming into this event, working on his 3 penalty laps that he was hit with after missing 3 shots on his last shoot.
Mat Chan now moving ahead of Tommy Hagenbrook on the erg and pulling away. But you gotta wonder, is it too much? Is he spending too much energy before that final shooting stage? Mat Chan goes to the shooting range. First one there for the 3rd time.
Here comes Tommy Hagenbrook, right behind Mat Chan. It's gonna come down to this final shoot.
Chan almost has his chin on the ground. Gets a hit though.
Hagenbrook with his first shot. Chan 2 for 2. Hagenbrook is missed. Hagenbrook misses his 3rd. Chan still perfect. Hagenbrook goes 4 of 5. That's probably going to do it for him. He's got 4 penalty laps. Mat Chan is in the driver's seat right now. 5 for 5 and back to the Ski Erg for the man who finished 2nd at the 2012 Reebok CrossFit Games.
12 for 15. Mat Chan.
It's the magic number.
The magic number. Davidsdottir hit 13. She's the best shooter on the day in absolutely dominant fashion in the women's, but Mat Chan matching everybody else who won their heat, and really good technique by Mat Chan on the erg. A little bit of a rocking action. He looks very energized right now.
He knows he's done.
Yeah, he's psyched.
And meanwhile, Graham Holmberg goes 3 for 5 on his final round. Holmberg, the 2010 CrossFit Games champion. Back to Mat Chan.
Well, these athletes have faced everything a normal biathlete would have to face except cold and snow. They're dealing with the heat, but the wind has definitely been a part of the game, part of the event, especially in the final 3 heats.
Jason Kaliba on the shoot, breathing pretty heavily here, but 3 of 4. And Kalipa 3 of 5 on his final prone shoot. Matt Chan, meanwhile, is creeping closer to finishing up his erg with just 10 calories to go.
Sounds like he's a little bit better than the softball toss.
I would say so.
Absolutely.
That's not hard.
Absolutely.
Matt Chan just about done as he looks to win this event. And he is done, and Matt Chan is off. And Matt Chan takes the men's Legends Biathlon.
Another smooth performance. Just kind of kept it together. Wasn't the leader right out of the gates. Snuck into the lead by keeping the shooting performance together. And a really great finish by him. He was putting a lot of energy into that finish.
This is now the battle for second place. Graham Holmberg is leading. But Jason Kalipa on the left and Chris Spieler on the right are trying to catch him. They are both on their final skis, as is that man, Tommy Hackenbrook, who led this competition until that final shoot.
Hackenbrook started great, hit 4 out of 5, but then missed. Only hit 1 shot for the last 2 shooting stages, and that's why he trails.
And I think, you know, the strategy of, okay, I'm just going to try and pop these off real fast on the standing, fine, I get that.
Right.
But I think he tried to use the exact same standing, or the exact same strategy in the prone, and he just needed to take a couple more seconds each.
Yeah, it's very easy to kind of unwind and lose your train of thought and lose your momentum in the sport of biathlon. Anybody who's done this sport, the winter sport, knows that you can have a good race going and let it get away from you. It's more common than not. So Hackenbrook got a really good taste of that today.
And Matt Chan beat Rasmus Andersen.
Wow. That's
fastest time of the day.
That's impressive.
That's amazing.
What is that, age and experience will always beat youth and skill?
You know, it's you're always wiser, much wiser, smarter, better, cooler, you know.
He beat him by a lot, 14 seconds it looks like. Was it a 10:49, I think, was Rasmus Andersen's time.
Well, Graham Holmberg is done, and Holmberg will lock up second place. Great result for the 2010 CrossFit Games champion. Chris Spieler and Jason Kalipa fighting for third place. Dan Bailey's on the right of your screen. He's pulling for all he's worth. Kalipa is done, and he will lumber his way over the finish line. So Jason Kalipa gets in inside the 15-minute time cap. Chris Spieler trying to hold out Tommy Hackenbrook, and he will do so. So Chris Spieler will get in well inside the 15-minute time cap. Now Tommy Hackenbrook is done. And we said it would come down to the shooting, and it did, as it cost Tommy Hackenbrook the event win.
You see that trajectory all the time. Somebody out to the early lead coming in at the tail end of the pack. It happens every week. I call the sport every week, all winter long, and you see it every day.
Just because you start first doesn't mean you're going to end there.
That's right.
Now Dan Bailey closing out his final ski. And he is just about done. Just wait for that thing to hit. Now he's finished. And it's a race with Mikko Salo, and Mikko Salo at the other end of the field just edging out Dan Bailey across the finish line. And that leaves Josh Everett as the last man on the field, but Josh is also on his final ski. The most famous piece of video on Josh Everett is from the deadlift ladder back in 2009 at the ranch, where he pulled a pretty big lift and then got extremely fired up right in the face of his judge. Less than 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap.
Josh at about 30 now. Josh at about 15 seconds remaining.
10 seconds to go for Josh Everett. And that will do it. So Josh Everett, the only legend not to finish this event inside the 15-minute time cap. Matt Chan, meanwhile, had the best individual time that we've seen today.
Way to go, firefighter.
Not bad.
Firefighter shooting gun.
Not
I
bad.
like it.
10:35.27 seconds for Matt Chan, who wins this thing with the rifle.
You know, we always had the question of, all right, my strategy, should I just try to get these off as fast as I can or not? We saw Tommy and Matt going head-to-head that first round, basically even. Matt Chan took a little bit more time, went unbroken, got all the targets. Tommy missed one. Then that big swap in that second round where they were standing, Tommy chose to just try, do whatever he could, and went super fast, missed all but one, whereas Matt Chan got all but one, and you can just tell the confidence just rode through that, and then Matt was just able to hold on to that. Tommy tried to do something at the end, didn't work out for him, but Matt Chan, woo!
Yeah, you really want to just keep it in your lane. I think Matt Chan was focused on himself a little bit more than the result. Hagenbusch started thinking about results and he got in trouble.
Matt Chan with a time of 10:35.27 seconds takes the event win. Graham Holmberg finishes second. Jason Khalipa will take third. And Chris Spieler and Tommy Hackenbrook rounding out the top five. Let's send it down to Roy McKernan with Matt Chan.
Matt, I know that you are a marksman with a bow. I know that you get plenty of time on the slopes, but do you get to the gun range often? How did you do so well?
Yeah, I shoot a rifle from time to time, and definitely some of the things I've learned from friends have really helped out on this event. The big thing was I slowed down at the end of every one of the Ski Ergs and gave myself some recovery time so I could be just a little steadier. And the wind played a little bit of effect, but competition did too, so.
That's right. And since we last saw you on the competition floor, you've made life changes. You also had an injury that was more than just potentially career-ending. It was almost life-threatening. So in light of that, how does it feel to come across this finish line and see this crowd cheering for you?
Yeah, I'm not going to make excuses. My fitness level was going down. But yeah, it feels great to be out here competing with my buddies. And again, in front of all these guys, it's really, it's just an inspiring, and I feel blessed to be able to be out here. So thank you to Katie and Bill for having me. Thank you to guys for having us, and be great fans for the rest of the weekend.
Well, you say your fitness level is going down. What would you say to me telling you that yours is the best time out of any individual who did this today, including Rasmus Andersen?
I'd tell you, you're out of your mind.
It's true.
Oh, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Chan.
Matt Chan, humble as always, takes the event for the legends and would have won the individual competition as well, so not bad. Here's where we stand now. After three events, Graham Holmberg still in the lead, or actually taking the lead from Dan Bailey. Jason Khalipa sits in third. Matt Chan with the event win moves up to fourth, and it's Chris Spieler in fifth. Chad Salmela, want to thank you for joining us here in the booth. It was an absolute blast, my friend. That was a lot of fun.
Hey, my pleasure. Have me back anytime. If you do this again, I would love to be here.
I hope we do it again because that was a fun event to watch. A lot more action to come today. The individuals and legends are done for now. We're going to hand it back over to the teams. Quick break. We'll be back with more from the 2019 Rogue Invitational in Columbus, Ohio.